on, wake up. Wake up.
Wait, what?
Hey,
What?
wake up.
Who?
It's no time for sleeping. It's time for the Rage Select Podcast. It's time for the Rage Select Podcast. It is time for the Rage Select Podcast. And I am Jeff, and that's about the most excited that you're going to hear me this entire time.
Okay, all right. I'll just slap myself awake, you know. all right. Okay, I'm good to go.
And who are you? Stranger?
Yes, I am Nick Hodges.
Oh, Nick Hodges is the world famous History Buffs YouTube channel where you got videos about Game of Thrones and The Last Samurai and The Patriot and Gladiator and all the greatest history shows of the history of all the history. I learned everything I know about history from Nick Hodges' History Buffs channel, which is
Thank you.
To say that Game of Thrones is a real thing and not actually fictitious books. It's actually about history. And that's what you were saying, right? I mean, I was playing a game while I was listening to it, but
well, I was just saying that a lot of things that are in Game of Thrones are based in our history in some form or another. And so I was just pointing out my favorite ones, not all of them. I'm getting really sick and tired of people saying, like, oh, you didn't mention this or you didn't mention that. It's like, I've got 20 minutes to talk about this stuff, you know? I'm going to miss something out. I can't,
Well,
2,000 years of history condensed in a 20-minute show. Damn it.
Well, I remember from when I was a kid when they taught us U.S. history, when George Washington stripped down naked and he took the dragon eggs into the fire after his husband was killed by an evil witch. That's real history, man. That's a thing that actually happened. How do you think we beat the British in the Revolutionary War? George Washington and his dragons, you know. No, I'm just kidding. That would have been way better if we just started teaching. That's going to become a teacher and start teaching a history class. Just teach everything all wrong and be like, yeah.
Well, you know what? That's about as accurate as The Patriot. So that's all I can say.
I've never actually seen The Patriot. I think that I
fucking hate that.
I mean, you know, the problem I had with The Patriot was kind of the same problem that I had with Assassin's Creed 3, where I just don't really. I mean, you know. I eat Taco Bell and watch NASCAR. Well, I don't watch NASCAR, but I do eat Taco Bell. So I figured that makes me a pretty good American, right? But
right.
I just don't really give a shit about the period of history that was the American Revolution. I mean, I'm sure there's some interesting stuff. Maybe someday well,
I don't know. I find it really fascinating that the real history, not this romanticized depiction that a lot of people have in their heads. I mean, if you really go into it, then it's absolutely amazing, like what actually went on, the hidden truths and all of that. They come across as more interesting characters.
You should be careful there, Nick. You're starting to wander into like Alex Jones, 9/11, like the real truth. If you guys knew what really happened in the real American Revolution, when the Illuminati was funding the French special forces and then the Daenerys Targaryen and the dragon, you know, I can't get off the Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah. No worries. If you want to know the real truth, go to my History Buffs channel and you can check it out there. This is all about games, goddammit. We're talking about video games.
You guys, I'm trying to teach Nick how to pimp out his channel every time he's on my show. It's just like, I have to keep poking you with a stick. I'm just like, just talk about your shit, man.
Talk about your show, man. Yeah. I exceedingly suck at it at the moment. I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there.
Well, let me ask you this, Nick. What video games have you been playing? Or have you been playing any? Have you been too consumed with your own show?
I think no, I haven't been playing that much. I mean, I tried out a little bit of Until Dawn, and I was having fun with that. You know, actually, very very funny game. But that's really about it. Although I am looking forward to playing the DLC for The Witcher 3.
Oh yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that in the news section. Did you trade in Metal Gear 5 for Until Dawn?
No, I didn't.
Because
actually, you know what I did? I stopped playing Metal Gear 5 and started replaying Metal Gear 4. You know, just like, okay, it can't be. Let's just see what the original was like. And I'm playing like, this is so much better. What the hell?
I tell you what, though, like it's kind of jarring when you go back and play. I mean, I can especially because I played in the opposite direction. I played 4 first and then 5, but I can only imagine going backwards where you're just like, you know, it didn't seem like it at the time, but now playing Metal Gear 4, I'm just like, wow, these are some long cutscenes.
I know, right?
They're really long.
Way longer. I mean, there's like one bit like where there's a cutscene playing, then it plays, and you just run down the street, and then another one continues where like Raiden's killing some geckos or something. Like, so what was the point of me just going down a block seriously before you do another cutscene?
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, like, I understand the people that were like, "Oh, it's got too many cutscenes," and at the time, I was like, stop your complaining. It does have a lot of cutscenes. I enjoy them, but that's because of the whole mental illness part of my Metal Gear fandom, and not.
It also means that you could take cigarette breaks during the game. You know, it's like, okay, cutscene, finally, puff, puff.
Don't remind me, man. I'm like,
oh, sorry.
I'm still cheat smoking on the weekend, which is making I'm never actually getting to a point when because I'm started going back to work out, and I'm never getting to a point now where my lungs can clear all the way out and I can like breathe and shit. But
tried vaping yet? I mean, you're in Austin. That's the private environment.
Nope. Never.
Because you don't want to be a hipster, right?
Well, no, I've talked about this a few times before, but I have two main issues with vaping. One is that I know the kind of damage that I'm doing to my body when I'm smoking cigarettes. We have a long history of knowing exactly what cigarettes are doing. I'm not convinced that we're not going to find out that if you vape for 30 years that you don't get like super herpes or mega cancer or turbo AIDS or something like that. Because we just don't have as much of an idea of what the long-term implications are. That, and as much as I mean, I like the way that I like that nasty taste that cigarettes have. I like the taste of tobacco, and every time that I see the vaping, it's like I was walking my dog last night. There was a dude sitting out in his car vaping outside. And I was just like, well, why? One, but I walk by him and I get this big whiff of like cheesecake strawberry lemonade or something, and I'm just like, I don't want to smoke Jolly Ranchers, bro. I want to smoke cigarettes. So I mean, if they could make a vaping cocktail that was exactly the same, that tasted just like Camels, then I don't know, maybe I'd go with that. But I don't know.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So Until Dawn, you haven't finished it yet, I assume.
No, I put it down for a bit. I mean, I've just got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Is there anything coming out in the near future? I guess Assassin's Creed Syndicate is one of the bigger ones. Up until then, we've got.
I kind of couldn't care less, to be honest. Like after Assassin's Creed 3, my interest has dropped dramatically, and I can't. What was the last one? The one in Paris?
Unity.
Yeah, that one was awful. I mean, that's it.
I thought Black Flag was good. I mean, I liked, but I'm a big sucker for pirates. So you give me any kind of pirate stuff, and I'm like, hell yeah, yep, sure, just drive.
Yeah, but if it doesn't have a good plot and decent characters, then I really couldn't care less. I mean, at least the ones. Yep, sorry.
Did you play 4?
I never finished it. I did. Okay. I did play it though. Yeah, I finished Unity. Surprisingly, despite all its bugs. So,
well, I thought you'd be psyched. This is the first Assassin's Creed that's in your native land, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I might borrow it and see if I can go to my house, but I pretty much doubt it.
Okay. I mean, is there anything that's coming out in the rest of the year that you're really looking forward to?
Uncharted, but then again, that's on the
that's year.
The PS. Well, no, the PS4 bundle.
Oh, the collection that came out this week.
Yeah. It is?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Or it did in America. It's on the PlayStation Store right now. I considered actually getting it, but as people know, my policy for Rage Select is that HD remakes are kind of like lower down the list. So if there's anything that's not an HD remake that's better or that's more high profile, we'll generally look at that, which is why we looked at Transformers this week instead of that. Also, you have to wonder, we do 2 30-minute videos for the dojo. How the fuck are you going to look at Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 in 2 30-minute videos? You'd be like, all right, here's 10 minutes of Uncharted 1, I guess. All right, let's go to Uncharted 2 for 20 minutes. But
it'd be a good excuse to replay those classic games, though.
Yeah, the time to replay games. Oh, that's great. I wish I had time to replay stuff. Well, I tell you what, before we jump over to the news, I did one thing yesterday that I would like to use my my platform of the Rage Select podcast to complain about very briefly, and that is that I watched Jurassic World.
You finally watched it?
I did. Boy, that movie. There were some good parts in that movie. I thought that did you see it, Nick? Did you see it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did. I really didn't like it.
I thought it was interesting to see Chris Pratt play a character that wasn't like the super wisecracking kind of guy. Like, in Parks and Recreation, he plays kind of a moron, and in Guardians of the Galaxy, he was kind of Nathan Drake Han Solo, like wisecracking rogue, and he was a little bit more serious in Jurassic World, and I thought he did an okay job. I'm just really, when it became clear to me exactly what was going on in the plot, like what the big kind of master plan of this evil company was, and I was like, really, like
turn velociraptors into biological weapons.
No, here. Okay, I tell you what. Hold on. Spoilers for Jurassic World, guys. For like 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I do. I want to make sure. Hey, it doesn't cost anything to just go, hey, everybody, if you care about the plot of Jurassic World, you can skip forward 5 minutes. All right? Okay, so here's the thing, Nick. If you were going to biologically engineer some kind of dinosaur super weapon that was able to murder the shit out of everybody, why would you do it in a theme park? Or if you were going to do it on the island where they are, maybe do it on the other side of the island, right? Or maybe like
trying to save costs, I imagine.
Well, but the other question that I feel like was brought up in a few different places is if they've got this genetics lab that's able to basically just like copy and paste DNA from super transformer octopus camouflage, and you just copy and paste that into dinosaurs and it's fine, right? You can just make them into cuttlefish whenever the fuck you want to, because that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Why don't you do it with people, right? Why don't you make yourself a person who can understand English, isn't a zillion-year-old murder machine from the Paleolithic era? Why don't you just do it that way instead? Why don't you give people the ability to cloak and run fast and do whatever? Why do you have to do it with a dinosaur?
I think it's because human cloning is illegal. And with dinosaurs, you have free reign to do whatever you want.
Yeah, because
but really, that's your problem with the movie? The bullshit plot? Really?
Well, I mean,
Isn't it weird that the old Jurassic Park movies look way better in comparison to how they look today?
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I definitely, the whole thing felt very divorced. Like it was the character's interaction with dinosaurs was very just like, well, I mean, there's just a big part of my brain. I mean, maybe it's not the same for everybody. Maybe it's the same for younger people who have been raised on CGI. But there's a part of my brain that's just like, those dinosaurs aren't there. Chris Pratt's not going to get eaten by velociraptors. They're not there. They're just they're just a figment of a CGI imagination.
Just bring back practical effects. I find it amazing that the movie that blew everyone's mind this year in terms of effects was Mad Max, and that was simply because it was all practical effects.
Well, there was a lot of digital cleanup in there, but yeah, the amount of practical effects that they had definitely made a difference. Like you could just, I mean, I don't know, and maybe it's a psychological thing. Maybe if you made a fake documentary about all the dinosaurs that they built for Jurassic World, I would have been like, oh yeah, those practical effects look really good. But knowing that Mad Max was so much practical effects just made it seem better, made it just seem more real, more present, like it was there. But well, I mean, you say I'm complaining about the wrong thing. I mean, I've just got to give it up on CGI, and at this point, it was mostly just, I don't know. There's a part of the movie where the lady character is getting ready to go out. She's trying to prove how badass she is in front of Chris Pratt, but she's still like at the end of the movie, she's running away from a Tyrannosaurus in high fucking heels. In high heels.
Yeah, gotta hand it to that girl, man.
Yeah.
Got priorities.
It was like, you should take your shoes off. Like, I know that you're in this place and there's all this glass and shit everywhere, but like, high heels are not made for running away from a also, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, if they would have just the last 20 minutes where they were just having dino fights, that was pretty cool. But outside of that, it was kind of just like, I mean, I hated the kids in there. I fucking hated those kids, both of them.
I didn't think they were that bad compared to the, other kids we normally get in movies. I think they were bearable.
What?
No, they were bearable. But they weren't so frustratingly annoying that I wanted to shoot them in the thing.
I don't think they were bearable even a little bit. It was the fucking Whining Wonder and Captain Emo ass. Like they were they were both just every time they came back on screen, I was just like, oh God, eat them, please, eat the children already. Also, I had a really hard time with the whole like, you know, this is a movie that takes place in a world where the first Jurassic Park happened. And like for some reason, the people who are in charge of security on this place don't seem to have that many like big old guns. Like there's a part where all of these pterodactyls get out and they're coming at people, and the security team waits. I mean, and we're talking like a theme park full of people and like a battalion of fucking pterodactyls. They're just coming at them, right? They're flying over, they're coming to where they are, and then they just, you know, they start swooping down to eat people. And I'm like, why wasn't there like 65 people? Like they're shooting them with tranquilizer darts. It's like, yeah, I know they're expensive, but your park's going to get shut down anyway. Just, you know, waste the motherfucker. Yeah. Go Avatar on their asses and just blast on them, man.
It kind of reminded me of, do you remember Alien Resurrection when the aliens escape and the first thing the soldiers do in that movie is run away? Mm-hmm. You know, like they're trained and they're supposed to be there in case the aliens get out. And what do? They pussy out at the last second and just run away.
Actually, you know what? Given what we know about the Alien franchise, like I actually thought that was one of the best parts of Alien Resurrection, because it was like, we've already seen what happens when you try to fight these stupid things. So are we going to fight them? Fuck no. We're just going to get the fuck out of here. We already know what happens when you try to fight these assholes is they win because they're sneaky and their blood's acid and shit. But yeah, I don't know. I watched it and it was okay for a little while. There was some nostalgia factor, but then it was just like, really? And really? And really? I just, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah. So, I tell you what, enough kvetching about Jurassic World. Let's get on to the news, because there's a fair amount of news this week. And our first story, we got trailers up first this week. And our first story is, speaking of the Jurassics and dinosaurs and things that existed millions of years ago, Far Cry Primal has been announced.
I'm actually really looking forward to this game because I wasn't that all excited for Far Cry 4 when the trailers came out. I was like, oh, it's just a clone copy, but it's taking place in the Himalayas. But this looks badass, man. I'm actually excited again, you know, because just doing something different with it.
You know, I think that, I mean, you know, there's one trailer for this. There's this one teaser trailer for it. It basically just shows a bunch of people talking gibberish caveman or whatever it is. I mean, it could be French for all I know. But they're walking around, trekking and taking down a mammoth and making, you know, spears and stuff like that. I think that, I mean, I don't want to, you know, I don't like to come out for the very first teaser just be like, this game looks like shit. But one of the things that has really attracted me to the Far Cry series over 3 and over 4 was really dynamic villains. Both Pagan Min in 4 and Voss in 3 were really like interesting and kind of charismatic villains. And there's a part to this game, you know, I don't know if there's going to be any actual language in this game, or it's just going to be all non-subtitled caveman gibberish. But they were talking about how you're going to play as a hunter who his tribe gets killed, and then you have to go do something. And I'm like, okay, but I wonder how the gameplay of Far Cry. I mean, I could see how the hunting system will definitely be there. They've got a lot of experience with bows and arrows, but like, are you gonna be marking targets like you did in the previous games? And like, there's very few. Or I mean, if they're dealing with Stone Age weapons, it seems like there's going to be a little bit of a limitation as far as, you know, what bow, spear, maybe like an axe or something like that. There's going to be...
Yeah, that might be a good thing, though. If you're handicapped, it might bump up the tension.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, at the end of the trailer, there's these guys that are all, like, painted blue that are kind of coming at the character. And
it kind of reminded me of that really crappy movie, 10,000 BC.
Yep.
You know, was it Roland Emmerich made it?
Was that Roland Emmerich?
I can't remember, but like,
yes.
It's like set. You think it's set in the caveman times, and then you see the Egyptians using mammoths to build pyramids. I'm like, no. Are you fucking kidding me? Who directed this? Oh, the same guy who did The Patriot. Okay, yeah, right.
I don't know. I guess it's just that I hope that And again, I don't like, I don't want to shove my finger in the eye of this game like prematurely. I just so much of what I liked about the last two Far Cry games, like I actually thought Far Cry 4 was a really incredible game with a really incredible story. Like the Far Cry parts of the gameplay started to get a little repetitive, like they do in a lot of those types of games. But the overarching story of pagan men, and then of the brother and the sister, and who's right and who's wrong, and the morality of kind of the whole conflict and stuff like that. That's kind of an interesting story, the same kind of with Voss and the whole idea. I mean, at least in Far Cry 3, the dude gets his magic tattoo that turns him into a super commando, right? But at the beginning, he's just an asshole frat kid on vacation who gets, taken by pirates. And that was kind of an interesting take on stuff. So I guess I really would like to know some more about, I mean, of course the graphics engine looks incredible and the character models look really good, and the mammoths and the action that they show in this trailer, it all looks really good. I just really want to know more about what actually is going on with the story. Like if you compare this to, what was that game that Sony showed that was the lady, and she was like a caveman except she was hunting robots?
It was like robots. Yeah, it was set in the future or something like that.
Right.
Oh god, dude, I can't remember. But I remember seeing the trailer, yeah. But they were speaking English in that. I mean, like, I can't remember. But I think this is going to be good. It's definitely going to add some variety that's really needed, because I know that you really like Far Cry 4, but it did just feel to me like a cut and paste copy of Far Cry 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually prefer Far Cry 3 simply because of Vaz was such an incredible character. And like Pagan Min is, doesn't really have that much of a presence in the game, even though, what's his name, Troy Baker?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he did a really good job, but just I didn't find the character as interesting.
Yeah, I could see that. Horizon Zero Dawn, that was the name of the Sony game. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is supposed to be what? Well, actually, you know what? If I'm looking at this correctly, isn't this supposed to be coming out February? Yeah, February 23rd of 2016. So I mean,
oh, nice one, guys. Usually they release a trailer like a year in advance or something. Just to keep us on our toes. I'm liking this.
I mean, I like the fact that they're at least spacing this out. Like last year, it seemed like like Far Cry 4 and Assassin's Creed Unity and The Crew all came out like within a week of each other, and Assassin's Creed Rogue all came out like very, very close together. So I like the fact that I like the fact that this is being pushed out into February, because that beginning of the year a lot of times has good games, but sometimes it can be a little bit more sparse. So it's good. I like the fact that we're going to have something like this to play, and that they'll give us more time to sink our teeth into Assassin's Creed this year. But yeah, I'd like to know more about it. I mean, I'm sure that before it comes out, there's going to be a shit ton more trailers for it. There's going to be one where they're all speaking English. I mean, I don't know. That's maybe a question to ask you, Nick, is if the entire game is just unsubtitled caveman gibber talk, do you think that they're going to be able to draw you into the storyline with just
not without subtitles?
Yeah,
they need to have subtitles, because cavemen, we think of them as primitive, but they were quite smart back in the day. So they had their own culture and religion and all of that. So it would make sense for them to have in-depth conversations with each other. But if the whole thing was in gibberish, then I won't be able to stand it.
I mean, that would be a really interesting. It would be a really interesting design choice, and it'd be a really interesting challenge for the team. So I don't know. Maybe
Would you prefer it if it was subtitles, or if it was just they were talking English to each other? Like if I know one of the cavemen had a Jersey accent or something like that.
What do you? Well, I don't have any problem with subtitles, so I think that would be fine. I would rather have them have subtitles than I'll be talking in English. Like you were just saying for that Horizon Zero Dawn game, it makes sense that they're speaking in English because it's in the future. Like it's kind of a second primitive time, right? It's after an apocalypse type of thing. But for this, I mean, I liked the idea in the trailer that they weren't speaking English. I just I think I think that a clever game developer could probably make a game where you were getting the storyline, but you were just getting it through body language and through the actions of people that you were seeing. You would probably have to work quite a bit harder at it. I don't know. I don't know. I just I think it's interesting. I hope that this isn't a. There's no way that this could be a fake out though, right? Because like Far Cry 4 had that whole thing where you went into the dream world or like you would not the drug trips part, but you would go into like the past and you were playing as this epic hero like in this kind of fantasy world where you were trying to save this white tiger from this oncoming stuff. Do you think that it would be a huge would it be a huge disappointment to you if it turns out that this was like a subsection of a more traditional Far Cry game that they're just doing a fake out, right? That it actually turns out.
They did a fake out and had the title of the game be based on the fake out. I got to give my hats to them because the balls of that decision, mate.
Yeah, I don't think it's the case. I mean, I really, that would be
It'd be like releasing Jurassic Park, and it'd be set in I don't know, like a Disney World or something.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, next up on the trailer parade, you mentioned this before, The Witcher 3 Hearts of Stone DLC is coming.
I've got a question to ask you because you know more about this kind of stuff than I do. Is it going to take place after the main campaign?
No idea. No idea. Can't tell if it's going to be integrated. I mean, just from what I'm seeing here, I don't know. I could try to look it up, but there's no clear indication right now. It looks like it. I mean, I didn't finish The Witcher 3, so you would probably be more qualified than I to talk about what the hell is even going on in the trailer.
Yeah, well, I figured like it was kind of like the way Mass Effect 3's DLCs were integrated into the game, but they were never set after the main campaign, obviously. But I thought there's a possibility with The Witcher 3 for it to be set afterwards. But I don't know. I certainly hope so. I always prefer it when they continue the story rather than, here's some shit that you didn't know about before. Because Witcher 3 is long enough as it is, the main campaign.
Right.
I'd like to get a little bit afterwards as well.
Let's see.
It's supposed to be like 10 hours worth of gameplay.
Yeah, $10, 10 hours. It's gonna have some returning characters. The trailer looks really interesting. I mean, the kind of we've got a character who is immortal, right? That seems like it could be really interesting for that game, the game world of The Witcher. Let's see. Heart of Stone main story. If you prefer, you can load up your existing save where the new content will seamlessly integrate. Let's see. I'm reading off of VG247 here. I'm really to pick up Hearts of Stone directly from the main menu. Doing so gives me a character of a level. Okay, so it looks like you can start the DLC from the main menu, and it gives you it'll bump your character up to a level approximate to that required for the expansion's content. In this mode, all the quests from The Witcher 3 have been marked as complete, but it still drops you into familiar world, a short horse ride from where Hearts of Stone main story kickoff. So it looks like it's going to be integrated into the map. It's going to be some place in the map or expansion on something that's there that you'll just go to. I mean, that's what that seems to indicate.
It makes sense because after I finished the main game, I just went wandering and I tried to get to the edge of the map. And I could see in the map that like there's this whole chunk of space that's, I could go to. And you start walking and then Geralt turns around and is like, no, can't go there. I'm like, shit. But I'm guessing when the DLC comes out, you can finally access that area.
I would assume, I mean, most of the time, these days, especially with something like The Witcher and especially with a company like CD Projekt Red, I would assume that it's going to be integrated into the game world somewhere. But I tell you what, did you see anything in that trailer that was really interesting to you? I mean, anything that really kind of piqued your interest?
Oh, I like the fact that the main character that you see at the very beginning of the trailer is the same character you meet at that bar in the Witcher 3, who says, I'll help you out by finding Yennefer, and maybe we'll see each other again. And you never see him again. So this trailer's like, oh, do you remember me? I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, do you need me to help you out now? Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll go on that. And he tells you to go and kill an immortal guy as well.
Yeah. Man, one of these days when I've got some time, I'm going to have to load The Witcher 3 back up.
You really should. I mean, there's nothing I've been playing this year so far that has been as incredible to me as The Witcher 3. It's like everything I could ask for in a game.
I mean, I think that there's a couple of things. Lost Dimension is one. There's a couple of really, really big games that I kind of would like to go back to at some point. Maybe in December when things get really, really sparse, I can go back and just start looking at some of those stuff again. And that's what I can do for, I don't know, we can see if I've got enough videos to be able to cover all of December, and if not, maybe we can go back and revisit a few of the things that I'd like to go back to over the course of the year. But all right, well, next up after The Witcher, 5 mind-numbing minutes of Resident Evil Umbrella Corps.
Thank God you thought it was mind-numbingly boring as well.
For those of you who don't remember, this was this announced at TGS? Where we talked about it? You and I, Nick, I believe.
That Japanese gaming thing?
Yeah. This is the 4-on-4 third-person action Resident Evil multiplayer shooter. And from the commentary on this 5-minute trailer, it seems like they're really trying for the esports thing, right? They're really trying to get the commentary that's over it is very much kind of a play-by-play esports style thing. And I mean, I don't know. There's a few things in here that look a little bit interesting, like the fact that if you get shot but not killed, that it looks like all the characters in the game have like a zombie suppression thing on them, and so if you get shot but you don't die, it'll turn the zombies on the map from non-hostile to hostile, because through half of this, it's like when the characters spawn, they're just walking around on the map, and the zombies, they don't do anything. They don't even notice them.
I was wondering about that. Like, what's the deal there? Like, did they explain?
Well, during a few of the matches, you can see there's a thing that happens when they shoot a character but they don't die, where it'll bring up this thing on the screen that says jammer break. Or like no jamming or something like that. And there's a pack that they have on their back that'll start to be like, it has like lightning and it's fizzling. And when that happens, then the character is hurt, but it also means that the zombies then go after them. So it's like if you tag a person, if you're able to damage that part of their equipment a little bit, then the zombies will then aggro onto them. But at the beginning, that it's not something you really have to bother with. I don't know. I mean, I feel like this really... Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways I'm really not qualified to talk about this, because there have been a number of different multiplayer and kind of survival modes in the Resident Evil series, like Mercenaries and Umbrella Chronicles and stuff like that, that just aren't really what I'm looking for in a Resident Evil title. But there's probably people out there that really like them. So I don't know. If you're into that sort of thing, maybe this will be interesting to you. But it doesn't really seem like there's any real story going on here, which is one of the reasons that I do go to the Resident Evil series. It just kind of seems like this 4-on-4 action game, which is kind of meh. I mean, it doesn't. It's not broken. It's not offensive to the eyes to look at. Like, it's not giving me eyeball cancer.
But it's not exciting. Yeah, but it's not interesting to look at either. I mean, like, I've kind of seen this before, and I'm just sick of it. I mean, what was the last Resident Evil game I played? 6, the one where it looks like a chick blowing a giraffe, in the logo.
Yep.
And that was just, I can't even remember that game. It was so boring. All I remember was us reviewing that game and us taking the piss out of the logo. That's all I remember.
I could tell you, I mean, like, the interesting thing is that I think it was this year Resident Evil Revelations 2 came out, which I actually really enjoy Resident Evil Revelations. And I thought Revelations 2 was really interesting. It was more of a traditional Resident Evil game, but it was kind of made like you could play it as 2-player co-op, and the two characters had very different skill sets, so they could help each other. And I thought that was kind of interesting. This, on the other hand, really just doesn't do a whole hell of a lot for me. I don't know. If it was free to play, maybe it'd be the sort of thing you could maybe like download and try over a weekend, and then.
I was about to say, if it's downloadable at like $15 or something like that, then yeah, I could see why people might be interested. But I don't know. I got a feeling they're going to release it at full price.
Yeah, me too. Actually, here, let me just look it up on Amazon and see. I'm sure they're taking pre-orders for it. I bet it's a full price. Nope. Don't.
You ask me, they should just really reboot that franchise and just bring it back to its horror roots. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, I had this story for later, but I'm going to drag it up to current since we're talking about it. Apparently, there was a Japanese magazine called Dengeki PlayStation that talked to some developers. They talked to a bunch of developers for their 600th issue, and they talked with Resident Evil producer Masachika Kawata, who said that Resident Evil 7 isn't in a state that Capcom could talk about, but it is people should stay tuned for future news. So we probably are getting a Resident Evil 7 at some point. The Game Informer article that I was reading this on said that pointed out that most Resident Evil titles have had 4 years between their releases, which means that we would be in line for a new Resident Evil next year, 2016, since it was 2012 when 6 came out. But I don't know.
Oh, so they're continuing the story then.
I don't know what the fuck they're going to continue, man. Like, Wesker's dead, and like, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of starting to get ridiculous how many times Leon and Chris have survived the zombie apocalypse, and I don't know. I mean, I guess they're going to make a new one.
They don't even have fucking zombies anymore. It's all about like those weird parasite things.
BOWs?
Shit.
No, that's what they're called. That's what they call them in Resident Evil. Because I do remember Resident Evil 6 a little bit.
There was like one zombie sort of level, I think.
Yeah, well, there were 3 different campaigns, right? The one with Leon and the president lady, that was more of horror oriented. There was one with Chris and somebody, and that was more like action oriented. And then you had, was the third one like
the super soldier guy who had the parasite in him?
Oh yeah.
So that was like in Eastern Europe, and I was like, oh god.
It was him and the president's daughter, right? Was his pal. It was him and the president's daughter hanging out. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, there you go, folks. We remember 2 things about Resident Evil. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you.
I remember Resident Evil 5 where they got they were going to have loads of black people, but then they changed it to make it more mixed because they didn't want to be make it offensive if you're in Africa and you're just shooting, Africans.
Yeah,
it totally didn't make sense.
I
didn't think it was an issue. They fucking made it an issue.
Did they change it? Because I still remember I played the beginning of Resident Evil 5 a few times, and most of the people in that village are not white. I mean, they're ashen because they're zombies, but they aren't white people.
They're not distinctively black, is what I'm saying. I mean, like I think they put on some white zombies in the end. Like, of course, they're meant to be Afrikaners or something, but I don't know. It just was like a bit of a cop out, if I'm remembering it correctly.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The thing with that whole thing was just, I don't know, ill-conceived. I don't even want to get into that. The Resident Evil 5. There's just a lot of things to say for that. Anyway, let's finish up our trailer roundup. Street Fighter 5 has a new character, and it's Laura. And Laura's kind of busting out of her top. I mean, I think that so that Laura's a new fighter, as near as I could tell. I'm not that far behind on my Street Fighter that I wouldn't remember who the ladies are. I think last time, who was the Xiao? Oh God, what was her name? The spider lady from Resident Evil, from Street Fighter 4. That would have been a whole different person, the spider lady from Resident Evil 4, as opposed to the spider lady from Street Fighter 4. Let's see, who was she? She was Xiao. Whoa, okay. I typed in Street Fighter 4 Spider. Jury, there we go. I typed in Street Fighter 4 Spider, and all I got was Spider-Man mods for Street Fighter 4. Okay. But no, Laura looks like kind of interesting. Again, I keep talking about these Street Fighter character reveals and going like, yeah, it looks cool. And that's pretty much the entirety of what I seem to have to say about it, because
what else is there to say, really?
Well, I'm sure that somebody who was a huge fan of Street Fighter could probably talk more about what they're actually seeing on the screen, more about the actual individual mechanics. But she looks like she's got these kind of rushing grapples that she's doing. And I mean, her character design is kind of interesting. She's got this real bright green outfit and weird kind of half cornrows, and her boobs are all hanging out. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. But, other than that, I don't really know that I have a whole lot else to say.
She looks like a chav, if you ask me.
Yeah? Is it just the half cornrows?
No, it's the tracksuit bottoms as well.
What is that? What is that? Tracksuit bottoms?
Tracksuit bottoms. Sorry, gym kits. I mean, like, I don't know. You guys don't have an equivalent of chavs. You got like, they're basically like white ghetto people in the UK.
Okay. I actually was just noticing this in the trailer that she's wearing like pants, right? But then she also, like, her pants are They're like regular pants from the legs down, but at the very beginning of the trailer, it comes in, it zooms around, and with a nice shot of her butt, and the pants are on her in a way that they have like a simulated G-string on the back of them. Like they're actual pants, it appears, but at the butt they change color, and then right up the middle of the crack, there's a thing that makes it look like she's got a weird like a G-string on, which is like, okay, doesn't make any sense because the front of the pants look just kind of like
normal. Basically.
Yeah, like track pants or like a weird gi with belt loops for your black belt. But then the back of it, it's like, hey, look, it's my ass. It's like, all right, whatever. I've kind of all right, that's it, that's all for me. All right, well, that's all the trailers that we've got, and Nick, from there we've got a few controversial stories. Are you ready for controversy? Are you ready to shift gears?
Oh, I love the gossip. All right, hit me with it.
Okay, so I don't know if you've been on, do you know about the voice actor strike? You probably not. I don't think you've been on since we talked about that.
No. I remember reading into it, but it was like, I think it was on Facebook or something like that. But I never. I think I just skimmed it. But I'm kind of behind it though, to be honest. You know, considering how much money that these games make, and voice actors don't generally make a lot of money. I think that was one of the reasons why what's his face, David Hayter, wasn't doing the new Metal Gear Solid, just because of how much money he asks for in making these games. Like especially with Metal Gear Solid 4, he asked. So
okay, go ahead. Yep, finish.
I was just saying that he asked for a considerable amount because he knew that was going to be the last game with Solid Snake, and they had to have them. But afterwards, they were like, "Oh, fuck you, David Hayter, we're not having you again. You know, you Kiefer Sutherland, he'd be cheaper."
I don't think Kiefer Sutherland is cheaper.
Well, he was in this case because they don't have him say anything throughout the game.
Well, maybe that's true. Yeah.
Apart from kept you waiting, huh?
No, but apparently last week there was a vote, and 96.5% of the responding members of the Voice Actors Guild have agreed to strike. So there's going to be one more meeting between the Voice Acting Guild and the game industry to see if they can hammer something out. But if not, then it's strike time, baby. Which brings up a really interesting question of, if the voice actors that we know and love all strike, is the video game industry just going to hire a bunch of scabs and just, I mean, you know, the video game industry traditionally is pretty shitty, right? Like they are. There's very few times where you're just like, oh, you know, that company, they're awesome. Like I can list one company, maybe two or three more if I think about it, that haven't done some shitty, dumb crap over the years at one point or another. But I wonder, you know, if I bet that Uncharted 4 has already gotten all their lines recorded, right? But when you think about the stuff that's coming out, I think that it would probably put a lot of pressure on the video game industry if this actually translated into delays of games that are being developed right now out of 2016 because they're waiting. I don't think they'll wait, though. There's no way they would wait. Would they, Nick?
No, they wouldn't wait. I think that they would just hire some actors who aren't part of the Voice Actors Guild and try that for a little bit and then buckle.
Yeah. And then maybe even, I mean, you got to wonder at some point, like, whether it would almost be cheaper. I wonder if this strike also includes, you know, like we were talking about, like actors, right? So you say, well, you guys want $1 zillion. Let's just hire Kiefer Sutherland again and pay him $500 million and do it that way because, or get Peter Dinklage back in to voice everything, right? He's good, right? he's never had a vocal performance that anybody disliked, right?
That's a really good point. Like, do actors don't count as voice actors?
Well,
right?
Okay. So here's the thing: is that I think that I don't think that would work because just in looking at the story that I'm looking at starts by talking about the guild that represents the voice artists is SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA. SAG is the Screen Actors Guild. So if this is a subsection of the Screen Actors Guild and they decide to strike, I'm sure that's going to cover anybody else who has membership in the Screen Actors Guild. So they probably couldn't bring in just like regular old actors as scabs. On the other hand, I mean, you know, qualified voice actors can definitely make or break a performance in a game. On the other hand, man, there are a lot of fucking people who want to work in the video game industry. And if somebody, like, here's a good hypothetical question for you, Nick, right? let's say this happens. And let's say that next year a game company calls you up and they're like, hey, we've been listening to your show, History Buffs, and we would really like for you to come and do an incidental voice. You could do it over Skype. You could record from home. We'll pay you $30,000 for, the 20, 30 hours worth of work doing voice acting for our new game. Are you going to stand in solidarity with the voice actors of the SAG-AFTRA? I mean, or are you just going to be like, well, fuck yeah, man, 30 grand, that's a lot of money. God damn.
Well, of course I'm going to do that. And I don't cast down any judgment on any up-and-coming actor who does take that chance. But, I think it is quite ridiculous how little money they do pay these actors, because it's nowhere near 30 grand. I think it's way less than that in order for them to strike. But what I'm wondering is, do you remember when there was the writer's strike in the mid-noughties?
Yep.
I can't remember how exactly did that go. I know because all we know is how awful some of these TV shows became because of the strike. Like Heroes, for example, suffered terribly because of the writer's strike. Did they get an increase in their salary, or was nothing accomplished in the end?
I don't know. This was 2007 to 2008, according to the Wikipedia article. Negotiators for striking writers reached a tentative agreement February 8th of 2008. The boards of both guilds unanimously approved the deal February 10th. I don't have time to read through this entire Wikipedia article right now and find.
Because they got labeled muddled up with bureaucracy and clever talk. But I have a feeling that not much was really achieved in the end, and it might be sort of the same thing with this, but. They have to. I really think that they have to because, like I was saying, a good voice actor makes or breaks a game. And that's one of the biggest things that we notice whilst playing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like the gameplay itself, yes. But what matters the most is the story and the characters.
Yeah. No, I that's largely where I stand on that as well. Yeah, I wonder. It's weird because, like I said, the video game industry is kind of there's a lot of aspects of the video game industry that is just a giant flaming shit pile that we could probably all do without.
Exactly, yeah. And just one question though: is Troy Baker and Nolan North? Does that count them?
Pretty sure they're in there as well.
All right, okay. Then I think most of the games are screwed then, because they pretty much do all the voices anyway.
Yeah, throw Tara Strong in there, and you're just like, oh, yep.
You mean the three of them aren't available? Oh shit!
Yeah,
and they go back to the original voice actors from Resident Evil 1. It's like that could have been a Jill sandwich.
Throw in John DiMaggio and who's the guy that was the voice actor for Vamp in Metal Gear.
He was like, will you be the one to finally finish me?
No, that dude, but the dude that's the voice actor for him, I can't remember. Phil Lamar. Phil Lamar is also a big voice actor. Like I noticed him in a lot of different places. So, throw in John DiMaggio and Phil Lamar, and you probably got a good 40 to 50%. It's just weird that it's weird though that one of the faces of this strike seems to be Will Wheaton, because I'm like, the fuck, I don't ever see his name on anything, man.
Who's that?
Will Wheaton, Wesley Crusher from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, I know what Star Trek: The Next Generation. But if he's a voice actor, which game did he do that I will recognize him in?
He was in Broken Age, but outside of that, I mean, he's been in a couple of. I know he was in this one weird Steam game that I saw, but I mean,
why the hell is he the main spokesperson?
I don't know. He just seems to be. I think he seems to be the person out there with the most like active social media / internet presence,
More than Troy Baker. Are you kidding me?
Well, it's the thing about Will Wheaton is that he's fucking Wesley Crusher, right? So he's got a lot of his fame is just built on the association that people have between him and that character. So, I doubt that most people could even I doubt that most people would even see, if they saw Troy Baker on the street, they'd even know who the fuck they were looking at. Hell, man, I don't even know if I would know what David Hayter looked like if it wasn't for his piece in the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 4, where later on I read a thing that was like, oh, yeah, that guy on the interview show, that's totally David Hayter. And it was like, what? It was crazy.
Right, yes, but in the voice acting world, they are huge. So, right. They would be the spokesperson. Not like Will Wheaton, I mean, you have to be a Trekkie fan to know who he is.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, speaking of controversy and bullshit, so last week there's a bit of a feud that's going on right now between Cloud Imperium Games and the Escapist magazine. So last week I did a very poor job of reporting a bunch of details of this story that the Escapist wrote about the Cloud Imperium Gaming, the people who are making the game Star Citizen, and they are. They wrote this article that basically alleged, based on some kind of we'll get into that in a minute. They alleged that the Cloud Imperium game, Chris Roberts' company, the people that are making Star Citizen, is being run into the ground due to incompetence, and that they've shuttered a studio here in Austin that they created to make assets for the game, and that Chris Roberts and his wife have been misusing the funds that they brought in from their crowdfunding campaign, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Chris Roberts fired back last week with a whole thing saying, no, none of that is true, and you guys are full of shit. And Escapist came out and basically said, well, no, we gave you the opportunity to blah, blah, blah. And this week they came back and Chris Roberts is like, no, and I demand that you apologize to my wife, who apparently is their HR director, who they kind of took a shot at in their article. Basically, so Chris Roberts has this to say. One, that the Escapist magazine never did their due diligence about presenting these allegations to the people they were alleged for, and then allowing them an opportunity to respond / rebut / tell you that is full of shit, and here, let me show you why it's full of shit. And two, there also seems to be some indication that there's a guy out there by the name of Derek Smart that we've talked about before, who was a backer for Star Citizen, who then wrote kind of some stuff on his personal blog about how he thought that the game was being mismanaged, and then the website canceled his account and refunded his crowdfunding money because they said that he was using the website to pimp out his own game. It appears that Chris Roberts is also alleging that there are a bunch of fake reviews written on a website called Glassdoor.com that is a review site for companies where people can leave like reviews about the internal the internal stuff that's happened in companies. He's basically alleging that Derek Smart and a bunch of people have cooked up this story to slander Cloud Imperium Games as a way of getting back at them for kicking him out. So
okay, but the first thing I was going to ask was, does Escapist magazine have any proof to the allegations? Because it doesn't really matter if let's say they are telling the truth. Mm-hmm. I don't think they need to let the Chris Robertson know that he's that they're going to write this blog or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not necessary, but but if they're just talking out of their ass, then it's really a non-story in a sense. They're just full of shit.
Well, so here we get this thing where there was a part of the story where they said that the person who did the article was contacted by 7 ex-employees and 2 current employees about their experience with Cloud Imperium Games. She exchanged emails with all of them, but then spoke with all of them via phone and Skype. 6 gave their real names, while the 7th did not use his real name, but did show pay stubs and a Cloud Imperium Games ID with the name blacked out. So that detail is interesting because Chris Roberts is like, we don't have ID cards at this company. So he is alleging that basically this entire thing has been cooked up, and that the Escapists' desire to run a clickbait popular story that they've been duped essentially by a group of people who want to slander Cloud Imperium Games, and that the Escapist hasn't done enough due diligence to make sure that all they've done is talk to a bunch of people on the phone and email and Skype with a few people, that they haven't done enough digging to make sure that they aren't getting taken for a ride from these allegations. Now, of course, that could all be full of shit as well, right? Because it could be that they're just using that as a tactic to try to say, yeah, well, this is full of crap. The one thing that does seem to kind of pan out, though, is that the Escapist Games article says that they're closing down this Austin studio that they created to make some assets for the game. And Chris Roberts is like, no, we're not doing that. That studio is not being closed down. So I don't know. Whole thing's just a big mess. And the reason that I kind of brought this up is that I know that in today's day and age on the internet, reputation and what people say about you, that stuff can be very important. That a bad article like this, especially for something like if it was a small crowdfunded game or something like that, something that was trying to gain traction, can be problematic, right? Because if it throws a negative light on a game that isn't even released yet, it can cool down a bunch of people who are hot to get your game, might end up that you lose sales because of it. On the other hand, I think that we have also found out that going back and forth and like the demands that they have right now, that Cloud Imperium Games is taken is this is what they want. Personally apologize to Ms. Gardner and our HR manager for the tremendous emotional distress and potential reputation harm that you've caused to them by violating the most basic journalistic duties of fair and balanced reporting. Publish said apology on your magazine's website together with a retraction of the article until such time as the murky backgrounds of its creation have been investigated. Engage and empower an independent party to fully investigate the events and circumstances that led to the creation and publication of this article, including any bias of your staff and their involvement with other interested parties and any conspiring arrangements between them. I don't know if this ends well for either side. I don't know if this I know that it ends well for the Escapist magazine because they get a bunch of light shined on them. I don't know if it ends well for Cloud Imperium Game as much as maybe just letting this shit fly away and then going on with your business does. Right.
Because this, to be honest, this just sounds like poor journalism and, a bunch of guys didn't, do their research properly because they were so eager to get a story out or maybe they need to meet their quota or something.
Which I mean, in all honesty, on the internet, this is not oh my God, the number of stories that are published that just are completely fake, and then the retraction that's run 2 weeks later is just, it's missed entirely by the people, everybody who got so incensed when they read the original story. This shit happens all the time. Actually, reading that again, it seems to me like the demands that they have here, the personally apologize and publish a retraction thing is interesting, but empowering an independent party to fully investigate the events, it really does sound like Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium are convinced that there is a group of people out there with that have a campaign to try and damage the reputation of the company and the project through shopping around, as in their words, shopping around a fake story with enough credible sources that if you have a journalist who was hungry enough for a story and didn't really care as much about checking, might get duped into running the story. So
yeah, but I'm thinking that he has tunnel vision. Like he's been spending way too long on this project, and that's all he can kind of see. Mm-hmm. Like he has blinders on, like a horse. And any bit of criticism, especially if it's not founded, is going to hurt him. So that's why he's acting sort of irrationally. I mean, like, I'm sure if he was like treating it like more of a casual sort of job, then he'd be like, well, this is nothing. This is like just white noise. This is going to be lost in all the white noise of the internet. It's going to be forgotten in a month.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I mean, this is the second week in a row that we've kind of had this, and I mean,
the fact that we're still talking about this fucking game and it still hasn't been released, that's the story I want to know. When is this coming out?
Yeah, that's more of a question than the rest of this is like, hey, why don't you put the game out? And then we can talk about who's slandering you on the internet.
I mean, like, I think that winter's going to come in Game of Thrones before this game is released,
All right, well, next up, Nick, we're going to talk about microtransactions. Who likes microtransactions? Do you like microtransactions? Nobody likes microtransactions. No. Nobody likes microtransactions. All right, well, I got 4 stories here that are full of microtransactions, so I'm going to need you guys to all go to the website and put $1 in for each one of these stories, and then I'll be able to see what I did there because the stories are like microtransactions. Yeah. All right.
Crack on with it.
All right. All right. First up, Rise of the Tomb Raider is totes going to have microtransactions, bro. They are going to have a bunch of expedition card packs that have cards with modifiers that can be applied to custom missions in the game, and you will be buying them with real money, and some of them will be permanent, some of them will be one-time use, and what the fuck, blah, blah. It's Tomb Raider, man. Like, what in the fucking fuckery is all that about? Quit shoving this shit into your single-player video game. It doesn't need to be there. There's no reason. No reason at all. Especially the game. There's already a season pass. Like, come on. Come on. So that blows. I mean, I don't know. Are you at all interested in the new Tomb Raider?
I'm not ecstatic about it. I'm looking more forward to Uncharted 4. I mean, but Tomb Raider, that is coming out to the PlayStation 4 eventually, right?
Yes. I believe it's timed exclusive. I believe. I can look that up.
It's going to be like a month or two later or something, right?
Oh, I think it's going to be longer than that.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Eventually, I will play it when it comes out. But like, I like the first game, but it wasn't absolutely groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I just this kind of just puts the kibosh on my on how much I'm really super interested in this. So, but whatever. I mean, this is Rage Select. We're gonna fucking play it. But that's shitty that they decided to shove that crap
You're just
in.
not gonna review it. That's all.
Well, yeah, very true. All right, next up, Star Wars Battlefront. Microtransactions or no microtransactions? Which do you think? Microtransactions?
Of course, microtransactions.
No microtransactions in Star Wars Battlefront. A interview with
I heard that game was going to be really buggy when it comes out. I think I read an article somewhere.
How would they know that? How would they know it's going to be really buggy? It's not even out.
Well, I don't
yet.
know. Maybe it was the fucking Escapist magazine. I was just checking with you. You're the guy with the news, dude. You're supposed to be telling me yes or no.
It's being made by DICE, and Battlefield 4 was really buggy when it came out, so maybe that. Yeah. But no, apparently it's going to have a 2-tier currency system of points and credits, but all of that's going to be earned in game. There's not going to be any microtransactions. There's an interview on GameSpot with oh god, this guy's name is just very difficult. Nicholas Fergreus said that no microtransactions in Star Wars Battlefront. So, hey, that's good. That's good news. All right, next up, let's play our game here. Time to roll the dice. Nick, what do you think? Destiny, microtransactions? No microtransactions. Microtransactions? No
microtransactions.
Microtransactions? Yes, microtransactions.
Of course.
Destiny is going to be adding in cosmetic microtransactions starting a little bit later. Yeah, so basically the way this is going to work is it looks like they're going to have microtransactions for purely cosmetic things in the game. Like if you want to change your color scheme, or maybe, I don't know, they're going to have some kind of skin pack where you can customize the way your character looks or whatever. So I actually really think that this is a pretty good one, because the microtransactions are going to be there, and they're going to be completely voluntary. They're going to be for people who want to change the way their avatar looks, and they're going to be taking that money and then using it to release like smaller DLC updates for free into the game every like couple of months. So adding in like a couple new stories or missions or whatnot.
You see, that I don't mind so much. If it's for aesthetics, then it's not an integral part of the game. But if it's something like a mission or like weapons or whatever, then it does bother me.
Yeah. Now let's just be totally clear: the shit in Rise of the Tomb Raider was also not necessary to play the game. Like, it's not an integral part of the game. But I like this a lot more because I like if a developer wants to put microtransactions into a single player game, which Destiny is not, it's totally a multiplayer game. I like it best when they do it as cosmetic stuff. Like the Warcraft MOBA, Heroes of the Storm, does it. I was just playing Dungeon Defenders 2, I think, on the PlayStation 4, which is free to play, but then no, you have to buy it, but then they give you a bunch of credits to start out with, but then most of the credits are used for cosmetic things, so it isn't a big deal. So, yeah, I think this is great, especially if the money from those microtransactions result in us getting more content in the game. Great, because I really like Destiny now. I think it's actually pretty decently put together game. And last but not least, and I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to this, Nick, Metal Gear Solid 5, microtransactions, additional microtransactions, or no additional microtransactions?
Sorry, additional ones. I don't want to admit it, but okay.
Oh, you don't know? Oh, you don't know?
No. What?
All right, so you know those Mother Base coins?
Yes.
You could buy with real money?
Yes.
You can now use them to buy timed insurance on your FOB platform.
Oh, God.
So that if people steal stuff, it's not actually stolen, and you get it refunded to you through
insurance.
FOB
really?
Insurance. Yes.
What the fuck?
I think they're losing.
Thing I've heard, man.
They already. This week, I believe they already put out the DLC for like the Eva skin that you could buy for single player, a few 99-cent skins that they could buy. But wow.
I think I started doing insurance commercials as well. Like have those really like sleazy guys in suits, walking around a mother base,
Yeah. Oh, it'd be a shame if anything happened to this forward operating base that you got here.
God. This is the start, dude. I swear to God, if this goes on with this, we're gonna have insurance policies for all our games.
No, this is I don't know. I mean, I know that EVE Online has something that's kind of similar to this, where you buy insurance on your stuff, but that actually makes sense in the context of that.
I swear to God that people are looking at this like thinking, are they going to let us get away with this? Holy shit, they are! Let's do this for all our games now.
I think that this is Konami's last hurrah. Like last week or the week before, we had a report that said that Konami isn't going to be making video games anymore outside of the PES soccer. So I think they had a plan for Metal Gear, and that like a lot is, you'll see this from time to time when a company, right, where they just don't fucking care. They had a plan. They know they're getting all this negative criticism. They don't fucking care. They don't care. They're just going to keep rolling ahead, steamrolling, because just like Chris Roberts ought to know, in 6 months, I'm going to be like, hey, you remember when Metal Gear Solid 5 had insurance that you could buy for your base? Like, oh, yeah, that was really shitty. And then like 2 years from now, I'll be like, do you remember like a thing a few years ago where Metal Gear was like you could buy something with real world money? Like, oh, yeah, it costs like $10,000. And you're like, no, that's not right. But yeah, what a stupid pile of shit. What an utterly idiotic thing to do, and a lame fuck around on the part of a company that can't seem to get their head out of their ass. Kind of go fuck yourself, Konami, whatever. It's funny. When I took down the Metal Gear Solid reviews, there's actually a few people who were like, did Konami issue like a takedown notice for Jeff? And I was like, no, I don't think that Konami cares about the 1,500 of you guys that listen to the show. So, all right, well, that's all of our microtransaction news. So let's start ripping through the rest of these because, as always, we are running late. So here we go. Number one. We got one story from all of the big three companies out there, or three of the bigger companies out there. Microsoft is apparently starting to take. They've got at a Windows 10 event. Microsoft announced that they're taking applications for their HoloLens developer kits, so that people can get the HoloLens in their hands and start building stuff for them. The company has said that these kits will cost $3,000, which I think is really stupid, because I bought a development kit for the Oculus Rift DK2 and it was $350 plus a little bit of shipping. I think that trying to charge people $3,000, the most clever thing that Oculus did was keep the price point in a place where the general public can buy their stuff and then evangelize it to other people. And by not, like, I just bought one, right? I just said, I'm on the website, I want one of these, and they sold me one. But if Microsoft's going to make only developers have this, then I don't know, man. Like, I get the feeling that when this HoloLens goes out there, that it's going to be like a bunch of other Microsoft technologies where we're all just going to go, ugh, really? Is this all that? I can't believe I got excited for this.
Do you think we're going to be desensitized to the whole thing?
No, I think that people don't understand. Like, there's a viewing area for the HoloLens that represents like a rectangle in the middle of your vision that you're looking at. And here's the thing. I say the same thing I'm always going to say. If it works the way that it says it's going to work, great. I don't think there's any way that it's going to work the way that it says it's going to work. I think that everything that you're looking at in the world is going to be transparent. It's going to be see-through. I mean, how could it be opaque unless you were able to put some kind of like use like an e-ink technology or something behind it so that you could make it look like it was real? It's probably going to be like a projection that's going to be somewhat see-through. I think that the viewing area is going to be smaller than people realize that it's going to be, and that the whole thing is going to be a little bit disappointing. I would love to be proved wrong. I cannot wait to get in a position where I get my hands on one of these things and check it out, because if it works like it says it's going to work, that looks awesome. I just don't think that's what's going to happen. And I think a lot of that is just because Microsoft has burned me a bunch of times over the years. So
you're naturally predisposed to be a pessimist now. Just because of the experience.
Well, just for something like this. I mean, you know, what they're talking about is a type of technology that's never existed before, right? Well, it's existed in the Google Glass, right? But the way that they're talking about it developing, I mean, I don't know. It reminds me of like the Microsoft Surface, where it was this thing that looked really interesting, and then it just kind of came, and everybody was like, "Wow, that's really expensive. I'm not going to buy one of those." And then it left, and then it was done. So I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it's the future of everything. And in a year, I'll be like, "Remember when I said that it was shitty? I was wrong," and I don't have any problem with that. Next up, Sony is cutting the price of the PlayStation 4.
Good, but couldn't they have done it when I needed to actually buy one?
No, no. That's not how it works, Nick. And you know that. It doesn't ever happen when you need it to happen. It happens the day after you bought a PS4.
It's like when you finish university and you checking out your Facebook feed and it says like they've improved the facilities at your university. Now it's like really awesome. I'm like, oh, cheers. I don't care because I'm not there anymore. So like, why are you telling me this? I did not need to know that piece of information.
Yep. Well, let's see. Starting, when this comes out 2 days ago, October 9th, PS4s are going to be $350 instead of $400. I think that's good. I hope that
that's not that big of a deal.
No, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it puts them in line with, I believe that the Xbox One has been $350 for a while, so it puts them back on even keel with the Xbox One. What the most interesting thing about it for people who haven't purchased a PS4 yet is that you might be able to find a Black Friday sale where they knock an additional $50 off and you get one for say $300 instead of $400. That would be an interesting take, right? If that managed to happen. And then let's see, not to be outdone with all this other crazy news, Steam is planning on carving out a retail presence in the United States, Canada, and the UK in GameStop, EB Games, and game locations where they're going to have like a Steam section in those retail spaces. So,
oh, okay.
They're not opening up their own store, but they're opening up, they call it a store within a store across North America and the UK. And this is going to be a place where you're going to be able to look for. I mean, I'm sure it's not just going to be like a kiosk that has a bunch of Steam gift cards on it. Like that would be kind of lame.
Yeah, that would be like. But actually, I was going to ask you: is GameStop still popular? Like, are they still around in the States?
Oh yeah,
because I've noticed that Game and a lot of other shops that sell video games and DVDs they've started to disappear in the UK. Like, really, the places you want to go are like online. I mean, and this is. At least in my area, like now, if I want to go buy a game, I either have to go to a secondhand shop or I have to make a pretty big journey to get on a bus and all of that in order to buy one.
Or did you just go to get it on? Does Amazon
online? Yeah, I mean that's I do that now simply because I'm lazy. Mm-hmm. But it's just like this kind of thing I've noticed. Like there's loads of there's a shop retail chain called H&V that have pretty much disappeared. Mm-hmm. In the UK, only like in small towns and stuff. Do you find them anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a fair number. I mean, I don't know that many GameStops that have closed down here. Like, they still seem to be all over the goddamn place the way that they were. They seem a little bit more desperate, I guess, when I go in there. Like, they're always trying to get me to sign up for their magazine and their
strategy guide still.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Still trying to do the strategy guide.
Well,
why are they still around? We've got the internet now.
I'm going to tell you this. Like, the closest game store to my house is a GameStop. And so I have been going to a GameStop to get a few of my games. And for the most part, the people that are working in there, like I feel like the management might have realized they need to tone it down a little bit, because when I go in there, it's usually the same guy working, and he asked me for all the he put the press on me the first time about, oh, do you want to sign up for this and do you want this? And I was like, no. And I was like, no, I run my own website. I just want the game. And he hasn't asked me again since then, which I think is good, because that's the only thing that's one of the things that I really care about. That, and like, he's been very, I mean, like, for the most part, GameStop tends to have, if I go on the day that the game comes out, tends to have the game that I'm looking for. And last time, I asked him about Rock Band 4, and I was like, you guys getting a bunch of Rock Band 4? He's like, no, we're getting like 3 that aren't pre-orders. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, but if you call me like 9:30, just be like, yeah, this is Jeff. Can you put that Rock Band 4 aside for me? I'll put it aside for you before we open, and then you can just come in and pick it up when you want to. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's real nice. So I got, I've done a lot of shitting on GameStop over the years, but I have to say that I've had some pretty decent experiences with the one by my house. So.
Yeah, and you've been nicer than Jason. Jason's got a special thing against GameStop.
Yeah. I'm really on the fence, like, because like this weekend, I'm gonna have to decide whether we're gonna do this or not. But like this weekend, I really like buying digital games on the PlayStation 4. I really hate not being able to give those games to my friends to play because so many of my friends have a PlayStation 4, but so many of my friends don't have a job that requires them to get all the games that come out. And I'd love to be able to say, like, I bought The Witcher 3 digitally, and I'd love to be able to say, oh, dude, you should totally check out The Witcher 3. Here, borrow it. I'm not playing it right now. Take it home. But I can't do that, you know? I don't have that for Batman or Bloodborne or Witcher. And like right now, they're doing a beta for Battlefront. But if you have to pre-order the game, and I guess what it comes down to is the question of like, usually if I pre-order something, it's a digital copy so that I can unlock it at midnight when it comes out. I don't have to deal with GameStop or anything. But yeah, they're really kind of putting it to me because I really want to play that Battlefront beta, but I really don't want to pre-order it because I know that eventually I'm going to get tired of it. And it would be great if I could just be like, hey, Jason, I'm done with Battlefront. Do you want it? And he'd be like, oh yeah. And I could just give it to him instead of buying multiple copies or whatever. All right. Well, we're just about done, but we got two more quick stories. First off is something that is somewhat near and dear to my heart, but probably not to anybody else. Nick, have you ever heard of a game called Pathologic?
No, what's that?
Pathologic is a game that it's a Russian game. It's a game that was made by a Russian developer. It's kind of a horror game. It's about this town that you go to where there's this plague happening and people are dying, and it's really weird, dark, and it's something that I've always wanted to play. But I think it's online in a few places where you can go buy it in a couple places. But you don't have to right now because they're kind of HD remaking it. They're cleaning it up. They're doing a new translation. They're doing some new voice acting for it, and they're putting it out. It's supposed to be. It's rough. It's definitely a rough game. Like it's not the best looking game that you've ever seen in the history of mankind, but it seems like it's supposed to be. I've read a bunch of different places that say it is very, very unique, very interesting, and worth checking out. So I'm really excited that that's going to be coming out.
How much is it on Steam?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'm interested in checking it out, and you could bet that when it does come out, actually, let me see if it's got a release on Steam, or if it's got a pre-release yet on Steam. Pathologic Classic HD. Yep, there it is. It says available autumn of 2015, and it doesn't have a price on it yet. So,
okay.
And last but certainly not least, here's a story that's a little crazy. So, Nick, we've talked before about I had to explain to you what the concept of swatting was, right?
No, I don't think so. What's that?
It's where a person is live streaming on Twitch, and they've got a video camera on them, and people will call the cops, and then the cops will they'll call in like a bomb threat, and then the cops will like bust down their door, and the people get to watch it on Twitch.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a bad thing, but here we've got a kind of an interesting story. So there's a Twitch streamer, I think it's just fascinating. There's a Twitch streamer by the name of Mr. Big who was doing some late night streaming when Washington state law enforcement came in, and he left his camera on, and he was gaming in like it was like the living room of like a one-bedroom apartment or something. So his camera was kind of pointed towards his front door. So he answers the door. The cop's there. The cop's like, "Hey man, you got to keep it down." I haven't watched the video, but from the reports of it, it sounds like he was being a little bit of a jerk to the cop, who's like, who wants to get like his name and his, see like his license, and he's like, "I don't have to give you my name, and I don't have to blah blah blah," which is true, but he's being a jerk. And apparently the cop manages. He says that his neighbor is a criminal and has called the cops on him because he's a douchebag, and the cops should be checking him out instead. Finally, the cop gets fed up with it, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, we're going to go down to the station because you're being such a douchebag." And that's the bad part of the story. So the cop takes him, he closes the guy's door behind him, and he doesn't even lock the guy's apartment door. And that's terrible. And then people continue to watch the stream, and what happens next is the guy's douchebag neighbor opens the door and takes like his shoes and his gaming headphones and a few things, like walks in and robs him. And that's terrible. But then the streamers that are watching call the cops, who then show back up again and manage to ID the guy from the video and arrest him. So at least it had a little bit of a happy ending.
Yeah, yeah. I have no idea how the hell that guy even had the balls to, slag off the cops, because American policemen are really terrifying, I gotta say. Like, just from the news reports, the way that like they've militarized themselves with tanks, on the street and stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you are completely in the right, I would not talk shit to a cop.
I wouldn't either, but then again, you're also talking about somebody who streams on Twitch. I don't know. But in any case, I highly recommend everybody go watch this video, at least the part where the dude's neighbor comes in and takes his shit, because it was like, yeah, that seems pretty stupid. Because it's like this guy, he just opens up the dude's door and like looks around, comes in, like grabs his shoes, grabs his gaming headphones. And it's funny because he's still streaming, so you can hear the sound from the microphone, and you can hear when he picks up his gaming headphones. He grabs like something else. I don't know what it is, but grabs just a few things and then just walks out.
I'm surprised that people were still watching at this point, like this, because there was nothing going on.
Well, it wasn't really that much further after. Like, let me see if I can give you a timestamp. Like, the guy, it's a 29-minute video, and let's see, the cop takes him off at about 8 minutes in, and then, okay, still taking him off. No, this is 9 minutes. Still taking him off. Let's see if I can find it. He closes the door. Yeah, he closes the door somewhere around 9 minutes and 30 seconds. And like a minute later, like at 10 minutes and 30 seconds, literally 60 seconds after the guy's gotten hauled off, his neighbor jumps in. And it's not like an hour and a half. Like, I'm sure that there are people in the chat who are just like, oh my God, can you believe that? Like, oh shit, like fucking police. Oh, I hate them, blah, blah, blah. And then like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? So, all right. Well, that's all the news that we have for this week. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to answer your questions that you've sent it to mail@rageselect.com. So stick around while I do my robot voice, and we will be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Rage Select. It's time for the questions. But before we start, you know what? I was going to tell the story about these nicotine lozenges, but I'm not going to do that anymore because it just occurs to me it's really boring. Needless to say, it's very difficult to suck a mint all the way until it's gone instead of succumbing to the desire to chew up and swallow the last little bit of it, which is not good when you're not sucking a peppermint and instead are sucking like a concentrated pill full of nicotine, because it kind of makes you want to throw up when you do that. But you know what doesn't make me want to throw up? Listener emails. That's what doesn't make me want to throw up most of the time. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address in case you didn't know. And we were a little light this week, but I'm just going to go with what we had. I pulled up a few of the ones that we didn't answer previously. So if you get a chance, you got a question for us, send in your emails. I know we've got plenty of places for us to answer questions, but we're still getting them. So send them in. Send them in when you think of them. Pull out that iPhone, mail@rageselect.com, bada bing, bada boom. This first one isn't really a question. It's more just kind of a clarification for somebody. It says, hello, wonderful world of the selections of Rage. I have an inquiry about donating to Patreon. I see that I am able to give money per Let's Play video. Does this mean that my card is charged every video that comes out, basically every day? Or does it actually charge at some interval, weekly, monthly, etc.? It's kind of the main reason I've been hesitant to use Patreon in the first place. I know you guys are very busy and whatnot with other questions, so I'm not really expecting an answer. But if you could clear this up, it would be spectacular. Sincerely, Ian. Well, Ian, it's your lucky day, because I'm just going to go over it for anybody who still has questions, who has listened this far into the podcast.
I'm just going to listen because I want to know the answer to this question as well.
Yeah, it's really easy. Patreon charges at the end of every month. So the first of whatever, the day one of the next month, you get charged for all of the donations that you made the previous month. So if you say, I want to give Rage Select $1 a video, right? You can give us $1 a video, and at the beginning of the next month, it'll go back and it'll charge your card for all the videos that you pledged that to over the course of the last month. Secondly, there's a second question that was sent in at one point, or might have been a comment where somebody asked, I want to give you guys some money, but I don't want to give you, but I'm having a hard time figuring out like what percent, how many videos every month you put out and what that would mean for me. So just to answer that question, we generally put out 6 videos a week that I post to Patreon. I skip the Sunday stream and the podcast. So
that blows my mind that you can get 6 videos out in a month. I mean, like, I'd struggle to get 2 videos out in a month. You know what I mean?
No,
It's incredible what you do.
Well, we do 10 videos a week. That's our normal 10 videos and a 3-hour live stream, a 2-hour podcast every week.
Yeah.
But see, the other thing that you can do on Patreon, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, who are maybe thinking about starting up, is you can also set a cap. So you could say, I want to donate $1 for every video that you guys put out, but I only want to give you $5. And that's great. So it'll charge you for the first 5 videos that we put out. It'll be $1. And then when you get to the $5th, then it stops and it doesn't charge you anymore. Or let's say you want to do it where you go, I want to give you guys $20 a month. I'm going to give you $20 per video with a $20 cap. You get charged at one time for $20, and then bada bing, bada boom, you're done. It's way easier to do that than it is to be like, all right, well, you put out 24 videos in a month that are going to be charged, and I've got to do the math and blah, blah, blah. Generally, it's easier just to go over there, decide how much money you want to give us. If it's less than, say, $20, just put $1 a video, and then just put a cap on it. Just be like $5 a month. $1 a video, $5 a month. Boom. Easy peasy. Good to go. So, all right, let's get on to the realsies questions. This first one comes in from Paul from London, who says, "Hi, guys. Recently watching Batman Begins again. Whilst immensely enjoying the overall movie each time I've seen it, I find myself continually irked by a minor scene in which Commissioner Gordon is piloting the tumbler and blows up the support structure near Wayne Tower for Batman. There's a throwaway gag in which a homeless guy nearby sees the tumbler and comments, 'Nice car,' and then looks mildly startled when it launches a rocket. Although it was only a few seconds in 2 hours, it always stuck out for me as a lame joke that added nothing to a high-quality movie with a generally great script. And whilst clearly the consequences of my own neuroses, it sticks out enough for me to actually impact my enjoyment of the overall movie, which got me thinking, are there any movies that you love but which have a tiny flaw that diminishes your enjoyment of the overall experience? Other examples would maybe be Arnold's I need a vacation line after beating the T-1000 at the end of Terminator 2, or the awful face stroking by Travolta's family in Face Off. That was pretty terrible. On an unrelated note, I've been reading Transmetropolitan on your recommendation, and I'm loving it, so thanks. As always, praise be to the dong, Paul from London. What do you think, Nick? Stuff that pulls you out of a movie, it's a bad, just kind of a thing that doesn't really seem to belong in an otherwise fantastic movie.
Oh God, I don't know. I'm stumped, to be honest. I mean, like, once I'm watching a movie, then be like, oh yeah, there's that one shit bit, but I can't think off the top of my head because I try to ignore
I'll tell you this. There was when I was.
Oh, I go on.
Okay, all right, go. Okay. Go. You go.
Dark Knight Rises, when Talia al Ghul just goes. When she dies, it just so pissed me off. It's like, that's the worst death scene I've ever seen.
Uh-huh.
Because everything else is like brilliant, and she's one of the best actresses out there, and she fucking does that. I'm just like, come on.
Just blah, blah. Let's see. God, you made me forget what I was. You forget what I was going to say. That's such a good one.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. The ones that he's got in there are pretty good. It's funny because I can honestly say that I don't. That there's I'm willing to just gloss over shit, right? It's pretty clear from. Oh no, I remember what I was thinking. Okay, so in Armageddon, right?
Should you just say the whole movie?
No. Because there's one specific thing that I find that was really jarring to me in Armageddon. I mean, I didn't like that movie, and overall it was kind of like, well, this is stupid. But here we go. So they'll be showing whenever they're doing like they're walking up to the ship or they're talking about the president's giving a speech about the world's going to get hit. I don't remember what the fuck happened in that movie. It was all blur. But they'll have these little cutaways, right, where they're cutting away to other people watching watching this stuff, or they'll just have whatever the inspirational thing is being played with some American music. But in Armageddon, there's a number of scenes where what they're cutting over to looks like a 1930s Norman Rockwell painting. It's like an old Coca-Cola machine and a kid with the overalls half buttoned sitting on top of a tractor in the middle of like the Midwest. And it's like, when the fuck is this movie supposed to take place? Like they haven't had those kind of Coca-Cola machines for 20 years, Michael Bay. Like it was literally like he cut away from the action to a Norman Rockwell painting. And actually saying that makes me think of another one.
Yeah, I was going to say in Armageddon, they have shots where like you see it's supposed to be set in Russia or something, and all the Russians are gathered outside the window watching the TV. I'm like, I don't think they're that dirt poor that they don't have televisions, in their own home, that they have to be standing outside in the snow to watch a news update.
Does anybody still put a television in the window for people in the street to watch at any point?
No.
No. Okay. So I thought of two more. One, you remember? Okay. So I did not. I'm being very upfront with people here. I'm not trying to hide anything. I've always tried to be very transparent in the things that I say. I do not dislike Lucy, the movie Lucy, as much as other people do. I just turn my brain off and let Scarlett Johansson do a bunch of magic tricks with her big brain, and I'm not like, that's not how the brain works or any of that. I don't care. Whatever. Fucking it's some French horse shit. I liked it. I was like, I went to go see it. I was like, all right. Except at the very beginning of that movie, they have this really weird thing where they're intercutting like stock footage of wild animals fucking over Morgan Freeman talking about, no, not over Morgan Freeman talking about the brain. It's over Morgan Freeman talking about the brain and Scarlett Johansson getting bullied into doing this drug hit drop thing. And then they're just like cutting away to a bunch of animals running around, and then they're fucking and then they're eating each other and stuff like that. It was just like, it would be one thing if they did that through the entire movie, but they just do it in the very beginning that one time. And then it just turns into a regular movie from there. And it's just like, but wait, what was going on with the stock footage? I don't fucking understand. Like, it was very jarring because it was like, okay, well, this is weird, and then it just never came back again. It was just,
I don't know. Kudos to you to even remember that movie. I can't remember it at all. I watched it in the cinema.
Oh, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, watching Scarlett Johansson.
I don't either. I just don't. It's just not memorable. It's not memorably bad. It's not memorably good either.
I thought it had some redeeming qualities, but not all that many. And the other one, and I know that this one's going to get me a little bit of shit, and I'm not necessarily saying that this was a bad thing. I'm saying that it was a very jarring thing. All right? So there's this movie, and it was a movie that got a lot of press because it was the first time that Halle Berry was going to do any kind of nudity. And the movie was the cinematic classic known as Swordfish, where John Travolta was definitely going for the stupidest facial hair of all time. Have you seen the movie Swordfish, Nick?
Hell yes, I do.
Okay. So
I do remember it.
There was all this stuff where it's like, yeah, Halle Berry is going to be nude or it's going to be topless, right? But the scene where that happens in the movie, it just doesn't make any sense. She's just sunbathing, and like the dude comes up, and she just whips her sunbathing thing down to basically show the dude her tits. Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. He shows Wolverine her tits. And it's like, what? Why? Okay. I mean, like, yeah, sure, but
I mean, like, that's all right.
Yeah.
I was totally fine with it. I preferred it a lot more than her "make me feel good" line in that Monsters Ball movie. That was kind of awkward.
I didn't want to watch anybody have sex with Billy Bob Thornton ever, so I never watched Monsters Ball.
I don't blame you. I will take her breasticles in Swordfish than the whole Monsters Ball "make me feel good" line.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, like I said, not like I was like, oh, come on, but I was just kind of like, okay. I mean, if that's the way you're going to go, great. Fine. I'm trying to think of any other movies that just had really, really silly things that I'm sure there's plenty of examples out there. I'm sure I've talked about a bunch of them on this show before. I'm just trying to think of what people.
I think what Paul was meaning though is just like the film is great apart from that one scene that was just threw the whole thing off just for a second.
Yeah.
You're like, why? Yeah.
I mean, I could say that there have been a few times where, like, I remember this isn't a movie, but it's a game. There's been a few times where Kojima's sense of humor has sometimes, like, there's a scene in Metal Gear Solid 4 where Dr. Naomi is trying to essentially tell Snake, like, how long he has left to live and what his body is, how his body is breaking down and what kind of horrible things are ravaging him. And he's trying to look up her skirt. Like, he's trying to sneak a peek at her panties. And it's like, dude, okay, she's trying to tell you you're going to be...
I don't even remember that part.
Yeah.
I was just playing it.
You're trying to become it's like
You have to press the R1 button.
Yes. It's like a secret R1 button thing where she's talking to him and she's sitting down on this table and he has a cigarette and he kind of looks over and sees that she's sitting and that her legs aren't, that you can kind of see up her skirt. And so he accidentally drops his cigarette on the ground, and then as he's bending down to pick it up, he looks up to try to catch a glimpse of her panties. And it's just like, look, Snake, I know you're old and you're dying, but she's talking about how you're going to become a walking virus machine that's going to wipe out all of mankind. Pay attention for 2 seconds, all right?
Sorry.
Yeah. Also, worth noting, we're talking about Metal Gear Solid 4 before. He spends a lot of time coughing in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Actually, you know what I feel most sorry for him? It's when he's trying to have a cigarette, and I'm thinking, well, let him.
Yeah.
Everyone fucking stops it. I'm like, guys, he hasn't got that much long to live, and he's pretty much saving the world again. Let the fucking man have a cigarette, okay?
Yep. Just let him have one. Yeah, that's about all I could think of. I'm trying to think of any more movies, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of times, sometimes comic relief in movies will come off wrong, where they'll try to add some comic relief in, and it's just like, all right, wah wah. But I don't know. It generally doesn't seem to be too big of a problem for me, as I can. If 99% of the movie is good and 1% is bad, I just go, I tell you what. Oh, I thought of one more. Before we move on. And this is something I've talked about before in this podcast, but I don't give a fuck because I'm going to keep saying it until somebody. I don't know if there's already a place on the internet that you can see this, but you know the movie Galaxy Quest, Nick?
Yeah. I've never seen it all the way through, but I remember it.
Okay. Well, there's a part in Galaxy Quest where Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver are going through the ship, the NSEA protector, whatever the fuck, and they're going through the ship and they're trying to get to this thing to shut down the reactor before it blows up. And so there's actually fucking Justin Long, I guess, is leading them through the ship, like, because he's the Star Trek nerd that they call, who knows everything. And so there's an episode where they had to do this stuff, where in the episode of the old TV show, there's a bunch of like chopping blocks, right? That on the show the characters had to jump between them to get to the reactor. They show a flashback to it, and so the Sigourney Weaver and Tim Curry, they turn this corner, and he's like, now just turn the corner and then go right through the choppers. So they turn this corner, and there's this giant room that's just full of all these big metal blocks. And they're just going like ting, tong, ting, bang, bang, like this giant chopping blocks. And Sigourney Weaver says, well, screw that, except that when you look at her face, like it's kind of zoomed up on a shot, she is obviously saying, well, fuck that. Like you could see her mouth makes the word fuck. And I've always seen that. And for the very first time that I saw it, the very beginning when I saw it in the theater, I was like, I want the DVD where she says fuck that, because the movie doesn't have any other swearing in it. Like it's very much kind of a PG-13. It's not, it's more of a clever movie than anything else. And I think that having that one piece of profanity in there was probably the difference for them. Let me see what the rating was on it. But I'm pretty sure that whatever they had at the time when it came out, so it was rated.
It was a PG.
Yeah, PG. I bet that would have, if they would have put that in there, I'd be willing to bet that would have bumped them up to a PG-13. And so they probably had it there originally. Then when they sent it off for rating, they came back and they said, well, you can have a PG if you take this one bit out. And other than that, it's fine. It's a PG movie. And then if you have that in there, it'll probably be PG-13. And so they probably wanted to make sure they weren't limiting their audiences, blah, 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 blah. But I've always wanted to see that added back in there because, like I said, the rest of the movie is so easygoing that really is a poignant moment where she's just had enough. Because then from that point, she goes on this tirade about, like, this doesn't even make any sense. Why would you put this in a spaceship? It doesn't make any fucking sense. So...
It's kind of like Steve Martin in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where the whole movie he doesn't do any swearing apart from that one scene where he just goes on a cavalcade of curse words at that chick at the airport.
Yep. All right, our next question comes in from Daniel, who says, hey, Rage Masters, has there ever been a difficult, obtuse, and or complex puzzle from a video game that stood out in your mind? Has there ever been a few that pissed you off so much that you stopped playing the game? Thanks, and may you spank your dick chicken so hard. What? And eject the fuck gravy fountain. Oh, my goodness, Daniel. Oh, my goodness. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Dong Lord, dick chicken, fuck gravy. That's his, and then he says Daniel. So what do you think, Nick? What are the game puzzles that stand out the most to you?
I can't honestly think. I mean, like, I know what really annoys me is when I've been spending ages working on a puzzle,
Mhm.
and then the answer is something so simple, and I get really pissed off that I didn't figure it out in the first 5 minutes.
Mhm.
You know, but if it's like a button hidden way in
Mhm.
one side of the room or something, I can't think off the top of my head, but you know.
Yeah, I hate that shit when it's just like it's a single brick. It's like a 1 pixel thing on the screen that you're trying to get at, right? And you didn't happen to mouse over that one pixel of the screen. I really do hate that stuff.
Finding any key in Resident Evil, the first one, really pissed me off. I so hated that.
Let's see. If it wasn't for Nintendo Power, I would never have been able to figure out the stupid whirlwind in Castlevania 2, where you have to go to an area of the game at a certain point in time and crouch. And then after you crouch long enough, then this whirlwind comes and picks you up and takes you to an area of the game that you need to be able to progress. So that is one of the most difficult ones. I'm trying to think. There was another one that I was just thinking of. You know, some of the Portal stuff, I think Portal is actually a really good example of puzzles that were somewhat difficult to figure out, but you could figure them out. You didn't have to resort to a guide, which a lot of times I will have to do. Oh, I remember what it was. So in the Monkey Island game, I believe it was Monkey Island 3 that had a puzzle in it that required, it was like a formula, right? And one of the things that it required is hair of the dog that bit you, right? And I remember trying so hard to find some booze in that game, because that's what hair of the dog is, right? Is the next day you get a little hair of the dog, you just take a swig, help your hangover, right? What you actually have to do in the game is you have to get a bone, and there's this dog, and you have to make him bite you, and then you grab some of his hair. You need the literal hair of the dog that bit you in order to get past that particular puzzle.
That would just really make me angry. Like, really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, generally speaking, like, I hated all of the old puzzles, right? Seventh Guest, 11th Hour, those type of games. I really, really didn't like those games. Like, the ones that had just very abstract puzzles where it was just like, well, here's a tune and you have to make this piano play the right tune in order to open the door. Those are the ones that I'm just like, man, fuck you. This is busy work. You know, anybody could do this. It's just taking up my time is all the fuck that it's doing. So I'm trying to think of anything else, but I think that's where I'm gonna. Yeah, I think I'll stick with that. And nothing comes to mind for you?
No, not much these days. I mean, okay. I'm a very lazy gamer these days, so like if a puzzle's hitting me too hard, then I'll just go online.
Yeah.
But so all my memories of being really frustrated are from the early noughties and late 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Anyway, next up, this one comes from Russ. Russ says, "Hey, Jeff and Nick. Sorry if you got this question before, but I'd like to know, what would you do to fix your least favorite game series, story-wise or gameplay-wise? Maybe change a few of the characters' personality traits that really got to you, or take out a dumb plot element, or maybe alter the gameplay to something more fun. You can have complete control. Go nuts! Always great to hear from you guys. Don Lord be praised. Russ." So I think the first thing I'm going to have to figure out is what my least favorite game series would be.
Resident Evil?
No, I mean, well, that's such a hard thing to
fix. No, it's not.
No. I was going to say, it's such a hard thing to categorize, because, like, I like Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 to a certain degree. I like Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. I mean, there's been plenty of Resident Evil games that I've liked. Like, it's not my least favorite franchise of all time. I'm trying to think of, like, and because that's the thing, is that instead of just straight up game, he says game series. So,
which is why I'm saying Resident Evil, because it's gone off the path. It needs to be rebooted, that game. It's getting too ridiculous now.
Okay. All right. Well, what would you do? What would you do to reboot the game? Series-wise and story-wise. What would you... Yes. Okay, let's start with story. What would you do to fix the story of Resident Evil?
Okay, I would ditch the whole parasite thing, bring it back to the original sort of monsters,
Just
the zombies.
virus.
Just the virus. Keep it insulated. You can still have it at the mansion or whatever, or you could completely start from a different place.
Mhm.
Just find some way of handicapping the player, like it did in the first one, because the first one, the clunky controls actually made it quite hard to fight creatures.
Mhm.
So if they kept brought that element back, not the controls, but like some way of handicapping the player, then it will make it scary again because you like, and you have a limited amount of ammunition, and also the save points in the game. They also made it really hard. Like you could only save a number of times in a typewriter or something.
Yeah, you'd have the ribbons to save at the typewriter.
Exactly. Yeah. So just do that. Don't make it bigger. Is not always better.
Hmm.
Just bring it back to its roots.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
And what about the story? Would you just redo the original story or set a new story? Just set it in the same, just kind of take it back to the mansion, or like go back to Resident Evil 2, like a city or that sort of thing?
I like the idea of the mansion, to be honest, because if you're like a police unit
Hmm.
and you're going out and you're isolated, that adds to the fear. Because once you have it in a city, then you have to go all out, and unless it's handled right, then it's going to be quite poor. And stop it with the whole over the top action hero kind of guy. Make them sort of like real people, like the way Naughty Dog does with its games.
Okay. I was actually just thinking one of the things that we've never really seen in a zombie game, or I don't know, maybe we have, but something we've never really seen in a Resident Evil franchise would be like if you were on the ground when the outbreak started, like if you made it more of like kind of a partially like an open world-ish kind of game, like maybe not completely open world, but at least open world enough, like maybe going between different areas, but have those areas all hooked together, right, and to make an actual map. And then maybe give you like agency over trying to stop the zombie outbreak, right? That like, you're going to be working with the authorities and, oh my God, there was an outbreak over here. So you can kind of go over here and try to contain it, but then give you the ability to actually, it'll be really interesting for that is I was talking about this 2 weeks ago. Did you ever play Battle or Shadow of Middle Earth or Battle for Middle Earth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that the Nemesis system is one of the coolest gameplay elements, and I really want to see it happen again. It would be really interesting if you had a Resident Evil game where like your character could get injured, but it didn't necessarily mean game over. But then the enemy that injured you got more and more powerful. Like if you had a zombie, and if like one zombie kills you, then they upgrade to something a little bit more, Nemesis style, and then maybe into one of the more bigger BOWs, so that you had the ability to actually affect the world by taking on certain types of outbreaks. Just more dynamic than just a beginning, middle, end. But I don't know. That could be interesting. I was just actually thinking of the franchises that I would probably want to mess with. I think that Sonic, definitely. I don't have any real love for Sonic and never have. So I think that I think that one of the biggest problems that I have with Sonic is the character of Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't really do anything for me. I think that as a mechanic, like back in the old days in Sonic 1 and 2, right, as just a speed mechanic, right, as a platformer, I thought it was more interesting when it was like that than it was when Sonic started opening his mouth and there were all these different characters. And, now Sonic hangs out with not just Tails, but Knuckles and that lady and all that stuff. I'd probably pare Sonic back down to something that was much more focused on directly gameplay. And then maybe try to stop with as much of the story, as much of the story craziness that they've got going on. Pare it down to a really, really simple story. Tails got kidnapped. You got to rescue him. Dr. Wily's got Tails. Dr. Wily's turning the bunnies into robots. Oh, shit. Let's go stop him. Okay, great.
I'm surprised even thinking about that. I mean, like, because like for me, it would have to be like a game series that I have some investment in. And Sonic was always like just a pick up and play game, like nothing. Like I couldn't care less about the plot line for Sonic as I do for Super Mario Brothers. I'd say one game I would love to see them redo would be Vampire the Masquerade, but do it on next gen consoles and do it sandbox style GTA, where you start off as a vampire and the older you get, the more powerful you become, just like in Interview with the Vampire. And so maybe start the game in the 18th century, and the game ends in the modern era. And have it all set in the same city, so the buildings stay the same, but slowly see cars come into play, and the buildings get a little bit taller.
That could definitely work. I mean, I was actually just thinking also about. I think Assassin's Creed has also kind of gone off the rails a little bit. I'd probably like to do some work shepherding that franchise back into. I don't even know really what to do. I think that they need to go. I think that they need to finish up the modern story, whatever the fuck it is, or eject the modern story from the franchise altogether and just be like, fuck it, they're historic games. There's no animus. We don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. Nobody's going to care if you do that. So I already messed up that story. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stuff you could do with Assassin's Creed that I'm hoping that Syndicate. Unity just felt so sparse as far as the number of things that you could do, the number of weapons and controls, and it felt like it was a game that was built on a framework for co-op play, using these like microtransaction booster packs and things like that, where enemies would just get really difficult. I don't know. I'd probably go back and just change that. Anyway, I don't know. Let's move on. This next one is from BHammer100, who says, "Hello, Jeff and Nick. BHammer100 here, and I have two questions. Number one, what are some video games that you absolutely love playing, but find that you couldn't care less about the story? For me, it's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. I've played it multiple times. I love sneaking around in the shadows, picking enemies off one by one, but the story I couldn't tell you even if there was a silence gun pointed to my head. It's a Tom Clancy game, probably has something to do with World War III. Number two, what are some of your favorite video game soundtracks? I'm in college and I love to listen to music while doing homework. I like to listen to the soundtracks to movies, video games, TV shows. Just put them on a loop and listen to them over and over again. Find it a good way to focus. On a related note, Jeff, where do you find the musical snippets for the short break? They're always really interesting to listen to. Live long and stay hard, BHammer100. Well, BHammer, I don't actually put those musical breaks in. This usually goes to our editors, so you'd have to talk to Ms. Mandy Savage, or recently we've got a couple new guys that are doing stuff, so I don't know is the answer to that question. But number one, video games that are absolutely love playing, but find that you couldn't care less about the story. What do you think, Nick?
Red Faction Guerrilla.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that game. It was so much fun, but the story's absolute shit. But I just love the fact that you could just destroy the levels and the environment. It's still good. I still play it every now and again, and it's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Second question. Unless you want to answer the first question, then we go to the second question.
I'm still kind of thinking about it. Okay. Yeah. What's the second question?
Second question.
Favorite video game soundtracks?
Driver 3.
Okay.
Hands down, the best video game soundtrack ever.
Mm-hmm.
I still have it on my iPod and I blaze through it. It's just absolutely brilliant. They got Iggy Pop, I think. He did you ever play Driver 3?
No. I think I tried to play the first one, but at that point in time, my brain couldn't get over the whole drive on the other side of the road thing. So I just spent the entire game smashing into cars and was like, well, no, I'm not.
Now you know how I feel when I play GTA.
I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know how you deal with that. I had a hard enough time with Sleeping Dogs, right? Because that was all the what for me is the opposite side.
Yeah, that was a bit easier. I gotta say. But I like in Driver 3, they had Iggy Pop as the radio DJ, and the soundtrack was imagine if the soundtrack was similar to Reservoir Dogs, like the same sort of world, where they had like this guy with this croaky voice, introducing the music, and it was just so fucking cool. With the game, I can't remember the game at all. I don't think the game was that particularly great, but the soundtrack is amazing. Anyone, I really recommend getting it on Spotify or just checking out the playlist on YouTube. It's brilliant.
I was actually just thinking that I probably feel as far as the good gameplay but bad story. I mean, I just was talking about it, but Shadows of Mordor. I know what the story was there. The guy's family got killed, blah, 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 blah. But it was so generic. I mean, like, I understand. Like, I couldn't even figure out. It should have been. I've seen those movies. I should have been able to identify whether that was happening pre or post Hobbit, So yeah, and I couldn't while I was playing it because the story was just kind of like what. I think it was a solid story, but I was way more invested in whether or not fucking Grogshanks had killed me and what I was going to do to track that motherfucker down and get him back than I was in the actual storyline of the game.
I can get that. Yeah.
I remember them, but I find that a lot of times people will I think it's because they're so long that people will forget about the storylines on Grand Theft Auto games, right? Outside of the highlights. Like, do you remember the individual nitty-gritty details of Nico Bellic's journey to America and what exactly he did? Or do you remember driving around New York, all that, and blowing stuff up?
No, I actually really liked the Grand Theft Auto storylines. I thought they were quite interesting.
Yeah, I did too. But I get the feeling that a lot of people just didn't really get into them. I'm trying to think of other games. You know what? I should probably just open up my Steam library and look through there. I'm sure I can find some stuff that was good gameplay, but kind of iffy on the storyline front. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff out there. I mean, there tends to be, for me, if it's gameplay, if it's non-memorable story and good gameplay, it's got to be really good gameplay because I know that you and I both, Nick, tend to put a lot of focus on the storyline. So, all right, well, let's move on here. We're already running a little bit late. So this next one comes in from Danny, who says, "Hello, casters of rage. Danny, the bespectacled gamer here. I was thinking about the time that we are in now." Okay, I'm just going to read this the way that's written. I was thinking about the time.
What are you doing? Having a stroke?
Yeah, I was thinking about the time we in now known as the height of superhero movie popularity. Never before have there been such a slate of superpowers films coming our way, and DC has barely even started. Perhaps even a little too late. My question is this: what superhero tropes would you like to see go away? Personally, I would like the "I don't want to be a superhero" trope to go away. I watch these things as a power fantasy, and oftentimes the hero in question just whines. I love The Dark Knight, but I will say that half of the series is just Bruce Wayne seeming to regret the whole Batman thing. I'll put it to you. What should or should not happen in the upcoming films? Rage on, Ragers, and as always, you've been bespectacled. I don't think that's a thing, Danny. Danny, the bespectacled gamer, says, you've been bespectacled. I don't know what that means. All right, so what do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I kind of see where he's coming from. I mean, like, do you remember that game on the PlayStation 3, the Prototype?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the main character's like, I can't let them do what they forget. Like, he's like, I'll never forgive them for what they've done to me. I'm like, well, you have the powers of a god. What the fuck are you bitching about? Like, you could just get out of the city right now. But no, he has to go on a killing spree because they made him have superpowers. It's just ridiculous, you know?
Yeah,
any one of us would kill to have superpowers like that, but no.
I don't know, man. The Prototype superpowers are pretty gross. Like, you grow tentacles out of your arms and bones, shanks, and shit like that.
You don't have to. I mean, if he was like the Thing from Fantastic Four, right, then yes, I understand that. But he could be a normal dude, and the fact that he could turn into whoever he wants is pretty badass.
I mean, he does have to like eat them, though, right?
Yeah, I know, but you can go to like to the ghetto and go after gangsters or something like that.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I think that I do definitely dislike the whole "I don't want to be a superhero" thing. I used to make this joke with people about how, like, the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, he spends the entire time trying not to be Batman. Like, in the first movie, he's like, Alfred, I don't think I want to be Batman. They're mean to me. And Alfred's like, no, Master Bruce, you got to be Batman. And he's like, all right. And the second movie, he's like, I'm going to stop being Batman because I want to get with my girlfriend. And Harvey Dent's cleaning up this town, so I'll be able to stop being Batman. And it's like, no.
And then Mike O'Kane delivers another monologue. He's like, yes, Master Wayne, I found an orange the size of a tangerine.
Right. And then he's like, all right, I guess I'll be Batman. And then the third one, you know what happens? He finally manages to not be Batman anymore. At the end of the movie, he manages to fuck off and fake his death and not be Batman.
No. That's not what happens. He wants to be Batman this time, and Michael Caine is like, no, don't be Batman, Master Wayne. I've buried enough members of the Wayne family. You know? It's like, hey, is that reverse psychology? No, I'm seriously telling you.
I want to recut those movies into one short film that's all about how Alfred is right the entire time. Because, like, in the first one, he is like, well, you got to get through this. You got to get through this. You did this thing. You got to prove that you could do it. You should be the Batman. And the second one, he's just like, don't you think you would be better off using your money for, like, you know, things that are not jumping around being a Batman. Like, you shouldn't try to, like, you're not going to be able to punch the Joker until he's not a crazy person. That's not how it works. Trust me, I've met crazy people before. And in the third one, he's like, look, dude, you're old. Stop.
Yeah, he's like, you're getting kind of fat, Master Wayne.
Right. Your leg is made out of metal. Go hire more police officers. And
no, it's okay, Alfred. I got this magic knee brace. I'll be fine. Yeah, see? There I go.
Yeah, how to get off of this? How does he jump out of the pit? Nick, how does he jump out of the pit? His leg has no cartilage. He puts on the knee brace. Bane obviously didn't bring the knee brace with him to the prison. Why is he able to jump with his knee that's admittedly all fucked up? Also, have you ever thought about, they have the rope, right? So that when the guy jumps and he misses, right? When he's trying to get out of the pit, if he misses, then he falls down and the rope catches him and he doesn't die, right? So there's probably a bunch of guys on the other end of that rope that have a vested interest in getting out of the pit. Why don't they just pull him up on the rope, and then when he gets to the top, he can climb up a little bit and put in another crampon, and then just loop the rope back through that? Like, why do they let him jump and then fall instead of when he jumps just yanking on the rope real fast, and then he won't fall? He'll just be dangling in midair, and he can just grab on it. Never mind. I'm sorry. Sorry. That was not my intention. Not my intention. People are like, how did he get from the pit back to Gotham City? I'm like, that's not what you should be worried about. There's so many other problems.
Batman, okay?
Right?
It's because he's Batman.
Why? Yeah. What about his knee? I'm more interested in his knee than anything else. Like, all that Bane would have had to do at the end of that movie is just kick him in the knee really hard, and he would just be like, oh, Jesus, I don't even have any cartilage anymore. Ow. All right. I don't think I actually answered this question. I don't like the dark and brooding superheroes very much because I think that superheroes are great as role models. It's why I like Superman more than Batman.
I think if it's done well, like the Dark Knight movies did it really well. I hated the Daredevil because I don't know exactly what he was brooding about.
He's blind, man.
So what? I mean, he's blind, but he has other senses. So those other senses counteract his ability to see.
Wait, are you talking about Ben Affleck Daredevil or the Netflix Daredevil?
Ben Affleck Daredevil.
Oh, okay, yeah. He didn't have any. Yeah. Fuck you, Ben Affleck Daredevil.
Exactly. Well, or if it rains, he can see fine. So what the hell?
Right.
You should just move to England.
Move to Seattle. Keep Seattle safe. I don't like that very much. I don't like the darkening of superheroes, and that's kind of it. I mean, yeah, I'm going to just go with that. All right. We've got a couple more here, and then we'll be done. Next one comes in from Mike from New Jersey, who says, "Dear people of Rage Select," that's not my good New Jersey accent.
I was going to ask you to do it, actually.
Yep. I was working on a window installation of a new 3-story building when all of a sudden I slipped and fell straight to the concrete and shattered both my legs. Yikes! Ow! My question to you is, since I have all this time to recover, do you think I have a better chance at becoming a YouTuber for games or being a nude cam model? What would be the best option to make money in the long run if I somehow become popular? Thanks for your time, and let your dongs hang ever so low and proud. I don't have that much experience being a nude cam model, but I can tell you right now that being a YouTuber for video games, that you don't really make that much money, man.
Hell no.
I'm not sitting around on my ivory throne with, my entourage full of bitches bringing me, victuals and such when I'm hungry. I make about as much as I used to make when I worked an office job doing this. So
it takes a lot of time and investment, and you're probably going to be all healed up by the time. Actually, no, you can be healed up and still not make any money.
Kind of depends. If you know a bunch of people that do it already that are willing to help you out, that give you exposure and stuff like that, that could definitely help. But on the other hand, you should look into, if those are your two choices, you're like, Nick, I don't know. Should I get a job, selling hot dogs, or should I go into hardcore pornography? I mean, which...
you know what he should do?
They both
he should to stand out from everyone else and combine the two. So he does nude cam video game.
There you go. Nick's got you covered. You're gonna be the nude. You're gonna be the nude player. Let's neuter. I don't know what. No, that doesn't sound right. Let's neuter sounds like a whole different thing. Yeah. Nude cam let's plays. That's what you should do. I think you probably get if your only concern is money. I think that nude model would probably be. Well, I don't know. I hear that dudes get paid well for that. I can tell you that I don't have the nude cam body for nude cams. I mean, I could go to like, hairypunchybears.com. That would probably work for me, but yeah. All right. This next one comes in from Tristan. This is hello again, Jeff, Lord of Souls, and Nick. My question for the podcast is a Dark Souls one. So I think a Souls themed party would be amazing. However, I must ask my question. Do you think Jason Murphy or Brian Salisbury could beat the Great Grey Wolf Sif? And how did you feel having to kill such a magnificent beast? I cried once after reading The Ring and understanding Sif's role in regards to Artorias' tomb, and after clearing the game's Artorias of the Abyss DLC. As a pet owner, this is a really tough fight to finish. Sif aside, have there been any tough missions, quests, or fights that being a pet owner has made them tougher for you? Your SoCal listener since the Spill Days, Tristan. P.S. Hope all the Rage Select crew have a happy, safe, and most importantly, fun Halloween. So I don't know if you're familiar with this, Nick, but the Great Grey Wolf Sif in Dark Souls is a gigantic gray wolf that holds a gigantic sword and tries to murder the ever-loving crap out of you. When you get Sif down to below, I think it's like under 80%, or might be under 75% health, the boss now will start limping away from you and not attacking you. So like a hurt dog, basically. It'll start limping away and it won't attack you unless you try to get close to it. Unfortunately, there is no way to actually finish the fight unless you kill, like you're trapped in the arena where Sif is until you kill, throw down and manage to kill Sif. It's made all that much worse if you played the Artorias of the Abyss DLC. Also, by the way, spoilers for all of Dark Souls. But in the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, you go back in time and you actually meet the Great Grey Wolf Sif as a puppy, and you release it from this kind of trap that it's fallen into. And if you do that, when you come back to fight the Great Grey Wolf Sif in the actual single-player game, there's an extra added cutscene where Sif smells you, jumps down, pins you to the ground, sniffs at you, recognizes who you are, and then lets out a mournful howl and realizes that they're going to have to fight anyway, and then goes to fight you regardless. So I don't think Brian Salisbury or Jason Murphy could finish that fight. Maybe. I had a little bit of trouble with it. I did, like, while the fight was going on, I realized the Great Sif wasn't going to attack me. I tried to get out of the fight as much as I could. I went online and tried to search for a way for to get around killing Sif, but there wasn't one. So I was like, well, fuck, I've got to progress in the game, so gonna go ahead and do it. But have you ever had a part of a game where being a pet owner made it like that much more difficult, Nick?
Well, yeah. Anytime I'm playing a game and you have to kill wolves, I mean, like, I don't have wolves, but I love wolves and I love dogs. I'm a big dog lover, and I just hate the games continually use them as antagonists. Because it gets kind of boring. Any fantasy game is just like these forests are littered with nothing but wolves. Like, there are more wolves in the game than there are deer, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm just sick of wolves in games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a certain amount of sense. Yeah, I think that for the most part, I think there's a lot of games that use wolves as. Sorry, I was just looking at pictures of Sif, and I found a picture of a wolf eating a watermelon. He's just standing there, like, looking at the camera with half a watermelon hanging out of his mouth. It's really funny. Sorry. I think that a lot of games where they have dogs, I mean, like, at least in Resident Evil, they have the good sense to make the dogs, like, undead and all gross looking and stuff like that, and that's fine. I think the game where killing dogs has been the worst for me is I hate in Call of Duty when the dogs run up on you and they get right in your face and you have to jam on a button and then your character reaches up to break their necks, like right in front of the camera. And it's just like, oh man, come on. Like, just it's not their fault. They were just trained badly. Oh man, come on. I think the only other, like, one of the only big animal problems that comes to mind for me in a game is your horse in Shadow of the Colossus. Which I think is a thing that anybody that's played Shadow of the Colossus is like, oh man, fucking horse. Like, have you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever played Shadow of the Colossus?
Yes. I felt very attached to that horse simply because there's really no other characters of the whole game that you interact with apart from that horse. And I feel shitty enough just killing those colossi in the first place.
Yeah, about halfway through when you're like, oh man, I'm doing something really terrible here. I don't know what it is yet, but this is all bad. I should probably just stop playing this game right now.
It's like, this chick better be good in bed, is all I'm saying. You know.
All right. Well, last but not least, Patio here says, howdy do, Rage Select crew. I got to share my gym locker room experience. After washing the impetigo germies away from a long workout. I don't know what that means. Impetigo? I've never... Impetigo. Okay. Jeremy's away after a long workout. I walked into the sink area to find a short elderly gentleman standing on a stool, drying his old-ass balls directly under the hand dryer, just shy of eye level.
Bullshit. That is nasty, mate.
Okay, important question time. What is the worst fast food / county fair culinary creation that you've ever tried and enjoyed before it reached your lower intestine anyway, i.e. Double Down, mini hot dog crusted pizza, deep fried Slim Fast bar, what the fuck, etc. As always, thanks for the tremendous amount of awesome work you do. Hooray for Sarah and Joe. Keeping up with the puppets. All the best, Patio. So what do you think? What's the worst, like, I ate this and it was great, and then as soon as it hit my stomach, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. Okay, I got one. I remember I was in Prague once, and I was at a film school there, and I was just... really desperate for something to eat, and of course all the restaurants were closed because it was quite late, so I had to go to a kebab stand, and I bought something called burek, which is like a Turkish Bosnian sort of pastry with meat. My family makes it all the time, and it's absolutely brilliant. And as soon as I ate it, I immediately started getting like heartburns. I was like, oh my God, my chest is it's really hurting. And of course, and it lasted until the next morning. I was just like, maybe I should see someone about this if it gets any worse. But like that, so there was no pain in my stomach. It was just in my chest. I have no idea what it was.
Good Lord.
I know, it was so bad.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That sounds pretty terrible. I mean, I could definitely say that, I ate Taco Bell yesterday, and Taco Bell doesn't do for you. I could probably tell you, though, that one of the most singular experiences of my life was as a kid. My dad used to take us around to all kinds of crazy places. And so one day he was like, are you ready to go to the theme park? And we were like, yeah. He's like, all right, we're going to go to the theme park. And we're like, yeah. He's like, all right, we're going to Dollywood. And I was like, what?
What the hell's Dollywood?
Dollywood is the Dolly Parton theme park. I don't know.
Who's Dolly Parton?
You know who Dolly Parton is?
No.
Oh, okay. So Dolly Parton is, you should go online right now, Nick, and look up Dolly Parton. How do you spell last name? Parton. Dolly Parton. Yeah, Dolly Parton is a country music star who was big in the 70s and the 80s, who's got a big old rack of blonde hair and just some big knockers, large chest, kind of. And so she was a big old star in the 70s and 80s, and she has her own theme-ish park called Dollywood that we went to. And at Dollywood, I was subject to the first time in history ever trying what I can only assume is the distinctly American garbage-ass thing that is known as a funnel cake. Now, have you ever had a funnel cake, Nick?
Nope.
Okay. A funnel cake is what happens when you take a big vat of boiling oil, and then you take like a batter, right? Like a liquid batter, and then you put it into a funnel, and then you drizzle that funnel of batter into the oil, kind of around in a circle to make like a big sheet, like a pancake of just fried batter. And then you take it out, and then you put a bunch of powdered sugar on top of it, and then you hand it to an 8-year-old and say, here, eat this. It won't murder you.
I love America. I really love your country so much.
Yeah, because we do dumb shit like that. Actually, I've just looked up funnel cake on the internet, and I just found a hamburger that has funnel cake as the buns, which, that sounds like a thing that we would be doing. So I remember eating that as a kid, and then I remember going on a bunch of roller coasters, and then I remember being just horrifically not happy with the world, just like stomach, like it was gonna just jump out of my body and run away. So yeah. Also, Long John Silver's not that great. But yeah, funnel cake is probably the single most dire thing that I've ever put into my body, where I'm just like, oh God, why am I doing this? But anyway, and that's the last 4 questions. So that's our show for this week. Nick, why don't you tell the people one more time where they can find the History Buffs show?
Well, you could just go on YouTube and just type in History Buffs. I'm like the first 5 or 6 videos. They're all mine on YouTube on the first page. And you could find me on Facebook if you type in History Buffs London, that's one word. And then on Twitter, I think it's History Buffs _ find me there. So,
okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm currently just about to release The Ghost in the Darkness as a review, and I am working on 300. So.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And hey, again, breaking news. Right at the end. Breaking news. I just got an email from Diego who says, "Hello, Jeff and Nick. My lady and I just got married. We'll be on a road trip for this entire week, and we'll be listening to the podcast on the road. We'd love to get a shout out and a blessing for the mighty Dawn Lord. Love what you guys do. Your loyal patron, Diego and Caroline. Congratulations, Diego and Caroline. May all of your weddings be a wedding. Stop at Dollywood. Have yourself a funnel cake. And with that, mail@rageflight.com is email address. We're done. We're done. And I'm going to go. I want a funnel cake now. I don't know. Fuck that.